world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice, a flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrived in the distortion of space-time, causing chaos and disruption. The world needed a hero, and Miller was ready to answer the call. With his flute in hand, Miller played a tune that echoed through the cosmos. Each note, a shot of pure ether, struck the Einsteinian demons, dispelling them back into the void. The world was saved, not by a warrior, but by a musician, a scientist, a man with a flute. Remember, in this universe of wonder and mystery, sometimes the most unlikely heroes make the biggest impact. Keep your mind open, your heart brave, and who knows, you might just find the ether within yourself. So here's to Dayton Miller.
Hola, welcome to Flat Earth Fridays, episode 110. We're going to watch Proud's intro here, and then we'll join the panel.
I do a lot of other spaces that regard all that other stuff too. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're here today is talk about the Earth moving and such. If you like these kind of spaces, we also do one tomorrow in the evening time with a couple of great guys, Sacred and Proud. They call it Flat Earth Fridays. You should pop on in, man. It's great.
You'll definitely see me popping into Flat Earth Fridays.
All right, boys.
Sacred, you want to take this?
Yo, Pierre,
Shout out to the level heads.
Back with like Floyd Mayweather with this shit.
Always fucking Floyd Mayweather.
You tackle LeBron, that doesn't mean you beat him. He'll cross you up. He was still going to dunk on you. You can't stop what's about that.
I do a lot of other spaces that regard all that other stuff too. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're here today is talk about the Earth moving and such. If you like these kind of spaces, we also do one tomorrow in the evening time with a couple of great guys, Sacred and Proud. They call it Flat Earth Fridays. You should pop on in, man. It's great.
You'll definitely see me popping into Flat Earth Fridays.
All right, boys.
Sacred, you want to take this?
Yo, Pierre,
Shout out to the level heads.
Back with like Floyd Mayweather with this shit.
Always fucking Floyd Mayweather.
You tackle LeBron, that doesn't mean you beat him. He'll cross you up. He was still going to dunk on you. You can't stop what's about that.
I do a lot of other spaces that regard all.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize how short that was. I was like, is it playing again? My bad. All right, lads, we're joining.
Another one. Another one. Another one.
Round 4.
Going down.
Lower ground floor.
Oh, look who's here.
I need Dr. Forrest. Dial 118, please. Dr. Forrest, please dial.
REN. Accessible.
Charged by God, sacred.
One ten. Is it Friday yet? I think it is.
Chemtrail clouds on sleep though. Acid rain down on sleep though. Fluoride water on sleep though. New world order on sleep though. Diabetes soda on sleep though. Clone and modified beat though. Heavy metals off.
Level heads, we up. Let's get it.
Wi-Fi cook a nigga in the sleep though. Put him in the cup. 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 Came a coffin. I'm busy watching. Count shit. Nigga sleepwalking. All these dead riders. Well, a rain about it.
Earth is flat, don't make it weird.
Talking about shit. Baby mama. You don't want to stir the pot, you don't want to detox, you don't sleep though. You ever heard about Skiat? You don't want a two-pot, you want love and hip hop.
Wake up, level head.
I was taking cheap shots all week though. False flag headlines all week though. Chalk outline on the street though. I'm just trying to make it out of one piece though.
I'm sleep.
Clone politicians on sleep though. Earth let it fuck, I'm sleep though.
It's flat.
Geoengineering, I'm sleep though. Diabetes soda, I'm sleep though. New world order, I'm sleep though.
Turn me up, gang. Let's get it.
Wi-Fi cooking nigga in the sleep though. Put him in the cup. 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 Put him in the cup.
Retweet.
I'm sleep though. Feds follow nigga in street clothes. Hoes ain't sticking to the G code.
Oh, I missed y'all. We turning up tonight.
I'm sleep though. Click, clack, bang, bang, and reload. Oh, set a nigga up for the kilo. I leave, baby, I'm crazy, no kilos. I'm sleep though. Deep underground ETs though. Bernie Mac, man, soul recipes though. Found make 28, well, we know.
Level head.
Talk is talk, and do is do shit people talk about. Nothing to argue about. How must I remind you, I don't wear designer, no genre attire. My son was all up inside your vagina, tampons, panty liners. Yeah, gender blur got the kids all confused. They in preschool. Designer babies in the womb. Stars shining through the moon. But I'm sleep though. Chemtrail clouds, I'm sleep though. Fluoride water, I'm sleep though. Acid rain down, I'm sleep.
They can't stop us.
New world order, I'm sleep though. Clone and modified beat though. Wi-Fi cooking nigga in sleep.
Let's go.
Put him in the cup. 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 Sleep. Put him in the cup. Put him in the cup. Put him in the cup.
Hold on. I'm just getting started, man. I'm just getting started. Where y'all been at? Full clips? We ready? Open minds only.
Yeah. That's dumb. Why fall in love? That's dumb.
Just saying.
I don't wanna go get lunch. I'm just tryna fuck dick dumb. Dumb.
Yo, Glovers.
That's dumb.
Stop being.
That's dumb. Forges on the court, that's dumb. 40 on the roller, that's dumb.
Anti-flirts.
That's dumb.
Hear that.
Do you MB, that's dumb. That's dumb. Dumb. That's dumb.
You cooking.
Dumb. How to tell her how it come to me. Try to make it sound fly for the dumbness.
Them know we live.
I'm trying to find out what they want with me. I guess the music ain't human till they done with me. And when they done with me, next one, stages agreed. Beauty song step one. Boys gone with the clothes done. Cheating, I'ma go Teflon. Paranoid niggas sleeping with the pump deep. Underground military bases, that's dumb.
Sacred spaces.
Bobby on the beat, that's dumb. I don't sleep, that's dumb. And you MB, I'm numb. In the studio, getting blows to the realest shit I ever wrote. In a world where they kill you with a Z, then say your ass an antidote. That's dumb. Why fall in love? That's dumb. I don't wanna go get lucky. I'm just tryna fall big dumb.
Yeah. You the squad in here early.
D-U-M-B, that's dumb. Focus on the coupe, that's dumb. 40 on the roller, that's dumb. 100 in a duffel, that's dumb. D-U-M-B, that's dumb.
110 weeks, no motion.
That's dumb. Yeah, who you know really done buy? Riddle me that.
You really in a level head.
Much shit on the track. Once you say it's old, no ain't no getting it back. You gonna have to be much quicker than that. Asymmetrical flows and metaphysical raps, invoking pivotal moment, exposing criminal acts. For those that live in the mask, I show them.
My squad too strong, y'all.
But now the ceiling is crack. Now the ceiling is crack. I will not fall in the mud. I will not fall through the cracks. I know that where we're headed is where we've been in the past.
Shout out to the OGs.
What happened to Anthrax? What's have you advanced at?
Shout out to the new listeners.
Wherever the red, the white, and the blue lands at, we to the natives and never give them their land back. Let's go. That's dumb.
It's the best community on X. Say I'm lying.
I don't wanna go get lost.
Say I'm lying.
I'm just trying to fuck big dumb. That's dumb. D-U-M-B, that's dumb. 40 on the court, that's dumb. 40 on the roller, that's dumb. 100 in a double, that's dumb. D-U-M-B, that's dumb. That's dumb. Dumb.
Just saying.
That's dumb.
Hold on. I mean, it's Flat Earth Fridays. You know we go to stationary Saturdays, but we just getting started. You heard me?
Fridays, we're breaking ground, spinning tails, turning the world around.
Shout out Flat Earth Day.
Theory so bizarre, where ignorance shines like a shooting star. Titty poo poo, the saddest of them all. Couldn't grasp the simplest concepts, oh so small. Lost in the darkness, drowning in
Hashtag FEF.
But we'll rise above with love, bring some relief. Flat Earth Fridays.
Sing it, girl.
We're breaking free, shattering illusions for all to see. Titty poo poo poo, lift you up high, knowledge and truth, watch you touch the sky.
Oh, we get it rocking.
Throw to JFK.
Got our new perspective.
Cause there ain't no better way. Gonna find that old Coriolis. They say she's hidden.
That old Coriolis.
Can't be if we rotate east tangential gradient. Hidden in the winds. Coriolis must be hidden in the winds. But the earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And we never could land safely with that.
Howdy, level head.
all know every pilot treats the earth as motionless. So to think it must be moving is just insane, you must confess. But please don't get offended if this song makes too much sense. Just thank God that landing's easy.
Tap in with me, man. I'm in the ether.
Tangential gradient in the winds. They said she'd just be hidden in the winds. But the earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And we never could land safely with that tangential gradient.
Oh, they don't like that tangential gradient.
So here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute.
Kinematics word salad.
Next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe.
Tell them. Can I get a yeehaw?
So here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute.
You can't fool with them kinematics, man.
No matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe.
No motion.
Never wins. Coriolis just ain't hitting in these winds. And the earth ain't moving faster with the further south we go. So thank God we won't be crashing when those wheels hit down below. Hidden in the winds, there ain't no Coriolis hidden in the winds. And thank God it's stationary, or we never safely land on a surface that is moving with a tangential gradient.
Oh, I got my cow boots on tonight.
It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute. So the next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry
Pay
about
attention.
rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe. Hidden in the winds, Coriolis just ain't hidden.
Hit me if you need that flat earth playlist, man.
Ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And thank God we won't be crashing when we touch down at the end. And thank the Lord, Earth is stationary, and we never safely land.
How many times we gotta tell y'all, man, we front line every week. Feet on the land, boots on the ground, level heads in the field. What up, Winston? Let's get it.
Geopolitically, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they sipping pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry so the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Took the way you saw the world
and distorted it.
Now you think you wanna rock it, twirl somewhere orbiting.
This my jam. Oh my goodness.
Distorted quick with a forceful grip. They forcing the simple that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature that mean extorted it. They forging it. If news ain't good informants or informing them, there's a certain.
Yo, tweet that Winston if y'all want sacred on the remix.
Economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this reporting ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant disinforming this. It looked like we were scoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer.
Where we at, Winston?
Geopolitically, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is
shout out to Miss Witz.
Rappers acting say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pill.
Not your favorite anti-flirt. Let them know where we at. Like they don't already know.
That's for Israel. Wonder is it real?
Should I keep it going? Let's go. Ooh, that thing too smooth. Hey man, look. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from the flat earther. Listen to your favorite astrophysicist.
If you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball, you just don't. That stuff is flat.
Heard me.
Yo, check it out. Did you know that the earth is
flat?
It gets a ball. Did you know that's a proven fact? What if I told you pics of Earth were made in Photoshop? And astronauts are actors acting in a movie plot? What would you say? What would you do when you find out that the globe is fake and isn't true? You globe is about to turn into a bunch of flat earthers.
All of y'all.
Wave, cause you know that y'all bad surfers. Ride the wave.
Wavy.
Cause you know that's not the curve of the earth, right?
At that height, you don't see. You don't see
the curvature.
That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. That stuff.
It's your favorite snack. Get your drinks. And just keep it G. Like gravity.
I'ma keep it G like gravity. All I see is density and buoyancy. Wake up to your new reality. The globe is fake and it's based on a fallacy. Shout out to the flat earth haters getting flat.
Shout out to anonymous listeners.
They debate us. I hate it. Welcome to your new
we see
reality. The earth is flat and there's no proof of gravity.
Hey.
Once upon a time, it was all just one big lie. Wake up to your new reality. The globe is Photoshop, you know, because it has to be.
Because it has to be.
Really got a lot of nerve. I think I'll see Waldo before I see the curve. Still talking about gravity, Einstein? How about you show us
the bandit of space-time? Hey.
What happened to the baseline?
Flat.
Dodging the question, are we? Okay, fine. No, man, but the globe's already been proven. Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you were that stupid.
My bad.
What do you mean? I studied it in college. Oh, you mean that blue pill you call knowledge?
Do the credential.
Are you ready to step out of the matrix? Or are you just too dumb and complacent for this to make sense?
Fallacious.
I'ma keep it G.
I love that word.
Gravity. All I see is density and buoyancy. All I see. Wake up to your new reality. The globe is fake and it's based on a fallacy. Shout out to the flat earth haters getting flat smacked every single time they debate us.
I hate it. Y'all seen that debate yesterday?
And there's no proof of gravity.
Killing them.
Wait, what?
What?
Oh. Oh no, I was talking about the theory of gravity.
Theory?
The law of gravity is still in effect. See? Oh, okay.
Long live Bob Nodell.
Nobody that I
legendary
feel uses the so-called scientific method.
They don't use a scientific method.
Seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
Yeah. What up, Kai?
You don't see the good.
Neil said it, not me.
That stuff is what?
Flowbusters taking up. Bye bye, moon man and rock.
Legendary.
Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is Flowbusters taking up. I gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead.
Yo, In a World got some hits.
Peace and enterprise, need a burst of bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down and be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad because of this right about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, nah, we got you, Bob. We got you, Bob. We carrying the torch, man.
Bob shut the president.
What up, Jerry? Every Sunday, tap in with the squad. You know we got every day of the week.
To awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
Blockbusters taking over. Bye bye, moon man and rover. Now social media. You're sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is blockbusters taking over.
Taking over.
But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Sorry.
No code, no curves, just a plane that's flat. Keeping you up all night, no need for a nap. Conspiracy theories didn't stop the town. We got the facts down, we breaking them down. Nothing but truth, we ain't playing pretend. The world's flat, it's time to comprehend. Late night sessions, we dive
every Friday night.
Exploring the truth, taking you for a ride. No sleep tonight, cause we're wide awake. Questioning everything the rules we break.
Charge me up, gang. Charge me up. Level heads.
Welcome to the show. Where you don't know.
We gonna get it started, man.
It's part of the show.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. If you don't
often
know,
imitated, never duplicated. But shout out to my gang, though.
Didn't they teach you to reach for the stars while opening up the bars?
See Alan in here, I see Stone in here.
And cars.
Richard, of course, what up, gang?
Kids sounding like supercharged.
Blue Moon, I see you. What up, Shane?
Repertoires. No
playing in truth.
Yards, caught up in emotion that's not even yours.
Taylor, gang.
Like impeccable retards.
Banksy.
For your serving of dish galloping.
Man, know this OG.
Can't say the lost.
TM OG.
I'm tired of walking in
Ken OG.
shards. Poor science displayed by disgusting
Shinku.
Soaked in sin with your dupe is the
Dude, what up?
hand of cards.
Ether, what up?
So long seems like for love.
Playing reality, I like what you did the other day, gang. I see you. Welcome to the show, Level Heads. What up, Zen? What up, Brock? Keith K, my man. Leliana, the ambassadors. What up, Nathan? What up, Canadian? Facing reality, OG.
Intoxicated 8 makes you believe you're spinning in space while you're
What up, Perceiver?
grace. It's a disdainful state I used to contemplate.
Brian 79, tell him stop hating.
For my own self. Wonder why I was even made.
What up, Chris?
Forced to try and awake.
Now, Rev, I see you. The telling I see.
Stay awake or educate. I've had to liberate.
Zion lying, but he be telling the truth.
Heaven could never
Who it
be
is, what it
made.
is.
Rockets don't work in space. It's all fake.
J-Rod, what up?
Shows on Mars is a joke, but you're
Ryan
too
Sweet,
far
1, 2, 3, 4.
Their place make is strong. We have our song and we
Mr.
march
X, OG.
along like streams of knowledge leading to
What up, Flatline?
fun and lives of truth that it's the bound.
Sam
Sing
B.
the song turns mankind from the wrong. We come in peace with
Space
the
Coast, coast to coast to
all
coast.
of us wearing our holy crowns. So the earth is flat and we probably just want
Rusty, I see you.
just to go along. I said.
What up, Vlad? What up, Doug? Matt Lump, my man. Howdy, Bill.
It's part of the show.
Clyde, what up? Ominous in here. New perspective in here. Lynn Fox in here. Chaz. Globe Skeptic. Big. You can't talk flat earth on Twitter and not mention level heads. Are you crazy? Y'all ready to get it started? My bad, I had to drag it out, man. I miss y'all. 110 on their head top. It's Flat Earth Fridays, episode 110. Earth is flat, bro. Don't make it weird. Welcome to the show. It's Flat Earth Fridays. I see all the level heads in here. Shout out to the other listeners in here I didn't get to. I appreciate y'all showing up once again every single week, man. Round of applause for y'all. It's been a lot going on, man. I've been tapped out. I ain't gonna lie, a lot of IRL stuff going on, but I see the squad still moving, still shaking and moving. Every platform, we on Twitter, X, we on Discord, we over there on YouTube, like TikTok, like we everywhere. What's going on? It's crazy. All this is still no motion, still no curvature. But it's been a lot of interesting conversations, man, and I love to see it. I got a special treat for y'all, man. I kind of done this in the past. But I kind of want to do this for the first time on Flat Earth Fridays. We're going to do a Sacred Reacts blind reaction. I see my man Ryan Sweet holding down spaces. I got a couple DMs like, yo, Sacred, yo, got Stu Peters in the building. What's going on? Like he's pulling up. I'm like, what, Stu Peters tapped in? Y'all already know. By the way, we did have Hibbler Productions in the building a couple months ago. Shout out to Hibbler, man. Big round of applause and shout out to him as well. So many interesting documentaries. They've been distorting history for a while, and every time we get to exposing that, they always start to crash out. Why is that? So as I'm listening in some spaces and I'm seeing the guys having conversations, I noticed that Stu Peters popped into a few spaces. And I see him go live with Witsit, and I'm like, oh, I gotta react to this. We gotta see what they getting down to. We gotta see what they talking about. Because we was predicting this last year, y'all, in season 1. I mean, is this season 2, right? Yeah, 100 episodes, season 1. Yeah, okay. Last season, we were saying, like, look, man, the trajectory of Flat Earth is only going up. Like, people not with the foolery no more. Like, we on all these different platforms. The conversation is being more widespread. A lot more people are being open to the conversation. Now, I will say, there are a few people that still kind of hesitant and engaging in conversation a lot more than y'all think. I'm telling y'all, my DMs is a crazy place, y'all. They don't even want to show up to Flat Earth Fridays. Just afraid to, I guess, be discredited by gaining in open, free thoughts, discussing the nature of our Earth and our reality. So that's why I want to give a big shout out and big up to Stu Peters, because he said, man, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to ask my questions. We're going to get into it. And I got to respect that, because there's a lot of space hoes up here that, you know, I rock with, not going to lie. But they don't want to see caught dead talking about this topic at all. And I'm like, why? What is the big deal? I mean, if y'all got 2,500 years of globe Earth curvature and motion, what's the problem? You should be able to come over here and talk about it, right? Why y'all staying away? Yo, this was the purpose of Flat Earth Fridays. I tell you that every single week, right? Like, we seen people want to engage in conversation through text, tweets. And I said, bro, let's just get into it. We got mics now. You don't got to grab a keyboard, grab a mic. And that was the birth of Flat Earth Fridays. So we're going to continue to keep this thing moving. We're going to continue to keep this thing going. And we're going to see where it goes. Because every single time the conversation comes up, it always seems like the globe Earth falls flat. And then the listeners, the ones that are standing on the sideline, that are like kind of watching, you know, because they always say, oh, Flat Earth is this, that, and that. Yo, anti-Flat Earth, that is the smallest community. We know that for a fact. Those that are dedicated to beating their thumbs on a keyboard all day, scared to grab a mic, straight fallacies, no truth whatsoever, no courage whatsoever. Yeah, they the smallest ones. So the people on the sidelines, those that may just have been taught about globe Earth, maybe not have considered the nature of our true reality, they're sitting and saying, hey, let me just see how this goes. Let's see what happens when the globe earthers, anti-flat earthers really, interact with the flat earthers. This flat earth is so stupid, right? And it always seems to play out in the flat earthers' favor. Why is that? It seems like globe earth can't make an argument devoid of fallacious reasoning, right? It's all about logic. It's all about rationale, repeatable, verifiable evidence, something exclusive. That's what we're looking for, right? So why can't they do that? Why is it every single time they got to resort to abstract concepts, fallacious rhetoric, obfuscation, misrepresentation? And I was listening to Wizard the other day, and he was saying, bro, every single time a flat earther engaged in a conversation, they always teaching the globe earther about the things that they believe in. How is that possible? You know why? Because we look at the details. We don't got to take things at face value. So we just looking to see, okay, do y'all have any exclusive position, any exclusive argument just relative to globe earth in motion through a vacuum of flat space? And for some reason, we can't seem to find it. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to, first of all, I want to say shout out to Alan and everybody over there on YouTube. Shout out to the chat over there, the space auditors. How you feeling, Alan?
Feeling great, brother.
Good to see you, man. I miss you guys.
Missed you too, man.
And beautiful work, you and Shane going over there, stepping on the what they calling themselves now? They went from the shill heads to the
globe
gangsters.
Oh, the globe gang. Yeah.
They're the globe gangsters, but they ain't spinning no blocks. They can't even spin the earth. What they calling them gangster for? What the hell is going on, Alan?
Dude, their whole hood's spinning. It's crazy over there.
From what frame, though?
Just theirs.
Oh, okay, got it. I want to dive into that a little bit later, too. That was a real technical back and forth. I want to just shout out to you, Alan, and shout out to you, Shane. I don't know how y'all kept y'all calm having to deal with that. I think the conversation was very informative. Didn't really like the interjections and the interruptions and some of the I don't want to say like deflection away from the point so much, because I mean it seems like some points they did try to hit home. But to me, it just wasn't working. It was a lot of obfuscation in some places, a lot of flawed reasoning. But I was learning a lot from both sides, so I really want to commend both sides for engaging in that debate. But I don't know how y'all did it. It couldn't have been me, man. It couldn't have been me. And y'all really kept a level head, so shout out to y'all, man, for real.
Shane's laughter and reaction is what got me through it.
Boy, Shane is on cue. His ad-libs are priceless. And shout out to Jaron for hosting that debate, man. Really dope. So yeah, we're gonna get into that a little bit. But yeah, so how about this? Like I said, I want to kind of jump into this Witsit and Stu Peters. It's only like, what, 25 minutes, something like that? I'll try to play it on like 1.25. You guys let me know if that's a okay speed, so kind of we can just get through it. Because I didn't hear it. I just kind of want to hear what they had to say. So this is like a blind reaction. So y'all going to get my first impression. I didn't hear anything about it. So this should be a bit fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And then what I'll do after that, I'll bring you guys up and we kind of open it up for discussion and maybe get into some of the topics that they touched on. And then we can jump into maybe some of the debate topics that you guys touched on yesterday. And then, we keep it pushing till stationary Saturdays, because y'all know how we coming. We can't sit there and act like we can't hit all the time zones that only work on a flat Earth. So you know we all keep it rocking. So let's do that. Let me do a little mic check real quick and make sure that y'all can hear this. Hold on 1 second. I think it should be on Wisit's YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to sync an atomic clock, and we're going to go at the same time. I'm going to play the video in the background with no audio, and the audio will just be coming from you. But if anyone wants to tune in and watch with visuals and stuff, because they do a couple of visuals at the beginning, you know, nothing too fancy. But if you want to see the interview as it unfolds, you can follow along by clicking on something on my profile, I think. And then you can leave the space in the background.
Yeah, let me do that. I'll go ahead and post that up top. I heard they actually released a new feature on some devices for video spaces, so I'm interested to seeing when they're gonna roll that out for everybody.
Oh, dude, that's a wrap when that comes out on PC.
I'm telling you, hey, just know who did it first, level heads. When they say you can't screen share in Twitter Spaces, it's a crap platform. Let them know we've been doing it. I'm telling you, man, we pioneers of this, bro. They know what's going on. Anyway, I went ahead and share Alan's tweets. And like he said, you can follow along visually if you want to. It's up top. Shout out to you, Alan. Appreciate that.
Starting off at 1.5, you said?
I said 1. I think 1.25. 1.5 might be a little too fast.
Yeah, 1.25 is good. Gotcha. All right, I'm on the same time. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, there were some questions about will I be accounting for a Coriolis delay to offset the delay between when Sacred starts and when I start? Yes, I will be.
I got it all loaded up. Okay, so this is the Elite's great Saya of the Earth, Moon, and the Solar System. Shout out to Winston and Stu Peters, man. This should be interesting. This is Sacred Reacts, Blind Reaction, Level Heads, Listening Party. Let's get it.
Free thought like that, it's demonized. If you ask questions, if you do your own research, if you try to get your own answers, you're ridiculed and you're ostracized, and quite often you're labeled as a crackpot conspiracy theorist or slammed as a revisionist or labeled anti-Semitic or bigoted or misogynist or racist.
Oh my God, we've been through it.
So there are some things that you can debate. There's some things that you can ask questions about. You're allowed to talk all you want to about which NFL team is the best, which season of Friends was the most entertaining, or Seinfeld, of course.
Get out the Matrix.
You can research and you can debate and you can devote your entire life to frivolous things that actually matter not. And these things, they exist largely as a distraction from reality. But when you start looking into what really does matter, when you take the red pill and swallow it, that's when you get pushback. And one of the most forbidden topics of all time for the past several centuries has been the shape of our Earth.
Ooh, talk to him, Peters.
Is it a big globe ball hurling through space at a convenient 666,600 miles per hour? Spinning at 1,037 miles per hour? I mean, we're told, as a matter of fact, from practically the moment that we're born,
I know they love them
Earth is a round globe ball, and it's hurling through space at thousands of miles an hour, spinning around constantly on its axis, while we all just stay in place.
Flat space, by the way.
Nothing, and ask no questions, by the way, about what's going on. We're supposed to just blindly believe that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour or more, spinning around itself in a circle every single day while we just stay put. While we just stay in place. Doesn't make any sense. And the whole story becomes even more ridiculous when you start factoring in air travel. So if the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, it shouldn't be able to take off. You shouldn't be able to take off in a plane. Or shouldn't we be able to just hang over and hover above the Earth until
That's
our
new
destination
perspective's bag. Y'all
shows
don't
up
want it with
underneath
that
us.
plane argument.
And the explanations that we've been given, of course, are nonsensical. And time again, researchers have cast doubt on them. And not just doubt, but at times they're completely disproven.
At Stu Peters, let them know we live.
That remains in every textbook on Earth gets disproven almost on a daily basis. And lies don't stop here on Earth. They extend into space, whatever that is. There's a number of famous photographs of Earth that we were told were taken from space when some astronaut somewhere snapped the picture out of the side of his rocket ship. We're told that these photos are real, but like so many other things, it just isn't true. They're fake.
Photoshop.
Computer-generated images, otherwise known as CGI. And we've been
Has to
shown
be,
a
man.
bunch of CGI-generated renderings of what a round Earth would hypothetically look like from thousands of miles away into space, but we've never actually seen a photograph that a real person took with a real camera or a smartphone showing the same thing. And guess what? NASA admits this. And just recently, we were treated to yet another ridiculous CGI rendering of space as NASA released this blatantly fake video claiming to show a space capsule detaching from the International Space Station before descending back down to Earth. Take a look at this.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Separation confirmed. Starliner is now backing away from station and starting.
Y'all heard they sending billionaires to space now?
Starliner's thrusters will then complete 2 short firings to
Stop
gradually
playing with me.
increase the separation speed to help the spacecraft carefully move away from the orbiting lab.
The vehicle is now about 2 meters away from the International Space Station. At the time of undocking, Starliner and the International Space Station were flying approximately 260 statute miles over central China.
I mean, these space videos aren't even believable. This is almost an IQ test at this point.
Facts.
And while we're talking about ridiculous space videos, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you this one from last year when India claimed to have landed a spacecraft on the moon and then showed off completely fake video clips that looked like they were pulled out of a mid-90s video game.
India has done it. It has become now the fourth country to land a spacecraft on the moon.
Shout out to India.
Just moments ago, we're talking just a couple of minutes.
Winning the space race. Welcome, lads.
South Pole. Look at the celebration here. India's Space Research Organization is already sharing stunning photos from the mission. And look at these pictures of the approach. It's a rare close-up of the moon's kind of dusty gray terrain.
Of course, the Indians would make the and worst space host videos of them all. I mean, the whole lie gets blown up and the world realizes that space exploration is a sham. NASA will have the Indians to blame. They should have stuck to eating. Austin Wissett is one of the foremost experts on the flat Earth theory. He's done extensive research and claims about what the shape of the Earth actually is, whether it's truly moving and into the many lies that the powers that be have been telling us and have been training us to believe for our entire lives. He's known as Witsett Gets It on X. For more on all of this, he joins us.
It's crazy to think about it. Like, it used to cost millions to advertise on TV, and now because of
Oh no, did you get hit with a YouTube ad?
Help me try to understand why it triggers so many people when you start to question things, and then people just eat up videos like that.
Great question, man. I think it's you nailed it. We were told it from such a young age, you know, that it's like one of the first things that you internalize as true. So when you tell someone that their entire worldview is wrong, they freak out. In addition to that, we've been conditioned to think that even questioning that is stupid, right? So people are terrified. They're intellectually insecure, so they're terrified of, you know, ever being labeled stupid or a science denier or whatever. That's really the most I can reason out of it. Is there's some type of emotional attachment to the idea, and people kind of fall in love with space propaganda. They don't want you to take it away from them.
So, what research have you done? And you know, what is some evidence that you have? Is it your position that the Earth is flat?
Yes.
And what evidence do you have of this?
Yeah, so I would say the Earth's a stationary topographical plane and it's geocentric. And the evidence, for one, I've been looking at this for maybe 8 years now. But I traveled the United States and I made long distance observations. So if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, then the surface of the Earth has to curve at a specific rate, roughly 8 inches per mile squared. And you can just go out and make long distance observations where you can see mountains from hundreds of miles away should be completely obstructed by thousands of feet of curvature. Some instances, literal miles should be blocking the mountains. And then, you know, laser tests, line of sight microwave transmissions that are horizontal over bodies of water, mirror flashes. There are many pieces of evidence.
You know, I have for a long time questioned this. A long time meaning maybe a couple of years when it was, you know, kind of first. I think I talked to a guy called Flat Earth Dave. You know, and he gave some pretty good arguments. I guess some of them were kind of, you know, half-heartedly debunked in some ways. But just let's talk about a more like common sense. You know, I mean, I'm very much a normie when it comes to this, but I just know that NASA is full of, and I believe nothing that they say. If I am leaving Minneapolis and going to Florida, or traveling from Florida and coming back to Minneapolis, which I do every other week, if we're spinning at, what was it, 1,037 miles per hour? If we're spinning at 1,037 miles per hour and I take off from Minneapolis, how the hell am I ever going to catch up to Florida? And what is the scientific justification for saying, hey, that's impossible? What's the explanation that the globe people always give?
Yeah, so they say that the atmosphere moves with the Earth. So that basically it's like you were flying over a stationary Earth. Because of course, to fly a plane, you have to treat the Earth like it's entirely stationary. That's the way planes are designed and pilots are trained. The problem with that is that actually what they're claiming, and they don't realize it, is that the plane is conserving its momentum as it leaves the surface of the Earth. So now you have a dynamic change in reference once you get into the air. The air actually would be moving separately from the Earth and slightly dragging behind it, lagging behind it, proportionate to altitude. Simply put, the higher you go, the more behind the Earth it would be. But they basically just claim, well, it's just an illusion. Fly the plane like it's stationary, and it all just magically works out. So that's their claim, is that the air moves with the Earth.
Okay, so this has been disproven somehow?
Yeah, well, for one, this is the simplest way to show why that isn't true. Is say you take like a high altitude balloon or even a drone, or Felix Baumgartner jumped out of a high altitude balloon like 100,000 feet up. The Earth doesn't move underneath. It doesn't move underneath him. In fact, when he jumped out, he landed miles in the wrong direction. The Earth was not spinning underneath him. So in that scenario, they'll say, oh, well, yeah, the balloon is perfectly moving with the Earth. But then they'll invoke things such as Coriolis and claim that there's a detachment between the air and the Earth. So they have to invoke it both ways, long story short. But the easiest, well, when I say easiest, it requires some understanding of physics, but it violates the law of conservation of energy and momentum for the atmosphere to be moving in lockstep with the Earth. As you increase altitude, you would have to have more and more energy to keep the air moving with the Earth. And that simply doesn't exist. You know, no one's even proposed a suggestion as to how that could exist.
Is every pilot just in on this? I mean, they have to know.
No. Well, they definitely experience a flat, stationary Earth, right? They're trained that way. I think just like everyone believes the Earth's a globe, you never think about it. I've had many pilots that reach out to me once they realize, and they say, I can't believe I never thought about this after flying for 20, 30 years. You know, former military pilots have reached out to me, for example. But so they're trained to fly like it's flat and stationary. And they just assume the Earth's so big you can't tell, right? It's never even a conscious thought. But then when people bring this information to them, they have an epiphany, basically. And I have dozens of pilots who have reached out to me, many of which can't even publicly state it for obvious reasons, which is insane and unacceptable. But so no, they're not in on it. They just fly the plane like the Earth is flat and stationary, right? And then I guess it's just out of sight, out of mind type of thing. No one really even considers this idea.
So when they learn, they can't say anything publicly because they would have their flight credentials stripped from them and they'd be ostracized as a crazy person. Where is the edge? I mean, you would think that this the round globe ball theory, if it were untrue, would be really easy to debunk by just going to the edge. Where's the edge?
Yeah, good question. So there's something called the 60th south latitude. It's basically a circle drawn around us, similar to the Hunger Games, funny enough. And you can't freely and privately explore past that area. So that's where you would get to what's called Antarctica. So any theoretical edge would be there. Of course, there's no edge to a lake or a pond, right? So that's the highest elevation in the world, seemingly contains the water. But what's beyond there is a great question, because our government went over there after we brought SS officers over here who were obsessed with Antarctica. We then became obsessed with Antarctica. And then we came back and said no one else can go there. So I don't actually know what's there. What would prove the Earth's a globe is circumnavigating north to south, popping back up on the other side of the ball, which has literally never been done in the history of mankind.
Wait a minute, it's never been done. Nobody's ever flown around the globe?
Not north to south, no. And funny enough, someone was supposed to do that, and he went to Antarctica just a little bit inland and turned around and went back north. And they gave him the world record for circumnavigation, even though he didn't do it. So,
what happens if you try to go on an unguided tour of Antarctica?
You get intercepted. People have been intercepted and taken to court and even imprisoned. Based on what country you're in, you get intercepted.
What's the reason why they say that they're not going to allow you to go to Antarctica? Something to do with the penguins, or?
That is.
If you're not making $158,000 per year, but you'd like to, I strongly.
That is actually one of the explanations. Yeah, environmental reasons. Commercial flights are banned because of stuff like the penguin population, and they just claim that it's one of the only resources that we have decided to preserve for science and it's too delicate of an environmental location for people to inhabit. So they've all put their differences aside after being to war over land throughout the history of man, and they've decided, no, we'll just leave Antarctica there for peaceful scientific purposes. So they really don't even have a good cover story.
Talking with Austin Whitsitt right now about the shape of the globe. I'm going to bring him back here in a second, but I want to ask you guys a question. So imagine that you're in this plane, right? And for those of you who have flown before, you know when you're about to come down before the pilot gets on and does his announcement. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for the flight deck. So Captain speaking, we're starting our initial descent. Why do they all have that voice, by the way? I think they go to like flight school voiceover class. They all sound the same, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, before they even come on from the flight deck and they make this announcement about your initial descent, you already know that you're on your initial descent because you can feel it. So even the slightest adjustment in altitude, if you're climbing, you can feel it. And if you're descending, you can feel it. Even the slightest 100-foot drop. Turbulence, which is now weirdly referred to as unexpected rough air, which sounds pretty fake to me. I don't know what that means. But this unexpected rough air, you feel just the slightest bounce in the plane. So now what we're told is that the Earth curves and changes at about every 55 meters. I think that's right. Austin, is 55 meters what they tell us?
Sure, technically it's always changing, but that would be a good distance to a noticeable difference.
Okay.
8 inches per mile squared.
So if you're changing at every 55 meters and you're traveling at speed over ground of well over 500 miles per hour, and the pilot has the autopilot engaged, which another announcement that they make, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached our cruising altitude of 36,000 feet. So you're supposed to maintain this 36,000 feet over this round ball globe, right? And you're maintaining this 36,000 feet for a distance of, 1,200 miles or for however long you're traveling. So you would obviously have to continue descending like almost constantly. Am I missing something here? I mean, you would feel that constant altitude adjustment, wouldn't you? What's the explanation? How do they explain that away?
They just claim that gravity automatically pulls the plane around the curve without you having to adjust it just for it. And so you just fly like it's parallel layers of air, horizontal layers, and it automatically accounts for it because of gravity, which is what this entire model just says. It's always going to look flat and stationary, but it's not. So but I will say what they can account for with the plane, that's just an excuse anyway, but there's something called an angle of descent. So when a plane's coming in for a land, they actually have to calculate the angle at which they're going to descend to land. And they do that using a flat Earth measurement. They use a flat Earth horizontal baseline. And it's different on a sphere. Your angle would be different. They do this 150, 200 miles out. And we've actually pulled the data and shown that it matches the flat Earth prediction. That's what the calculation is. I've never got a rebuttal to that. There is no rebuttal. I've woken up many pilots pointing this out. The angle at which they land a plane proves they're landing on a plane Earth.
I just don't know how you would land something. I think when you're landing, you're usually doing just roughly over 100 miles per hour.
If you want to feel your energy levels skyrocket, you've got to try out this organ complex by Paleo Valley. It's buy one, get one free right now. So here are 5 reasons.
I don't know how you would land something on something that's moving at 1,037 miles per hour. Isn't it difficult to land a fighter jet on an aircraft carrier that's moving? Doesn't that take like some pretty extraordinary skills?
Oh yeah. So they actually have a rope that catches the planes, and it's got like a very low success rate, relatively speaking, in the world of landing planes. And they have to land in the direction that the carrier ship is moving. There's no way that you could land a plane moving in opposite directions of the Earth. It's insane. So yeah, to actually land, and we're talking the carrier ships move just a couple miles per hour in the water, and then they come in and slow down and glide with it in the same direction. So this is another example of how they say, just trust me, fly and land like it's not moving.
Well, I mean, I think the cable is there because the runway on a carrier is so short. So I think that's part of it. If you had a very short runway that was on the ground, ostensibly you could put a cable system in there. If people thought that regular passengers could withstand that kind of force, coming from hundreds of miles an hour to zero at the snap of a finger, which would obviously make for a less than pleasant landing experience. But why is this important, by the way? And why do people get so triggered about this conversation?
There's the big golden question there. Why people get triggered? I still just think it's because people have an emotional attachment to the idea. They've looked at the world through this lens their entire life, and you're taking away something that they hold near and dear, especially when it comes to space. The reason it's important is, well, for one, if you look into the Bolshevik Revolution, one of the first things they did was remove God. So anytime you're trying to implement a slave state, you need to remove God, because people become nihilists and easier to control. If the Earth is in the center of the entire universe, and the logical question is, how did it get there? It had to be placed there, right? And further, if you've ever seen the Hunger Games, we have a circle drawn around us that we're not allowed to freely leave. So I would say that's obviously pretty important if we're being monitored with interior lands that we can't freely leave, similar to, again, the Hunger Games. And there are many reasons. The last one I'll say is whenever, just like they did with the whole COVID thing, they told you that the air that keeps you alive is going to kill you. And even though you're healthy and have no symptoms, you're sick. So you had to learn to not believe your senses or your experience. So when you can't trust what you actually experience, you have to turn to authority to give you the answers. That's the way this entire lie is. Everyone just can't believe their own senses, and they're perfect to be brainwashed. They're in a perfect state to be propagandized and brainwashed. So those are the three major reasons I would say.
We really do have we really do have a country and really humanity full of people who really, if they don't understand something, they always look for guidance from the authorities or those that purport to be the experts on certain things. Which is why, like during COVID-19, everybody was looking at doctors, everybody was looking at researchers and scientists. Everybody believed Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, he's the world's foremost expert on viruses. You have to question everything. We live under the empire of lies. Are viruses even real? I don't know if I'm, willing to subscribe and commit fully that I believe that the Earth is flat, but I do know that everything that NASA has told us is complete bullshit. I do know that there are a whole lot of scriptures in the Bible that support the flat Earth theory. The firmament, for example. And if the firmament is real, that would explain why every time we try to watch Elon Musk launch a rocket into space from SpaceX, it seems to kind of, do this thing and then blows up. It also begs the question about the Challenger. Here's a spaceship shuttle that you're going to put real normal people on, including school teachers. Boy, they get up there and they see that thing is flat. Imagine the fallout from that. We can't have that. Blow that thing up. There's a lot of questions about this. If you want more on this, follow him on Twitter. Witsit Gets It. Show it on the screen there. At Witsit Gets It. That's Austin Witsit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we on a big round ball hurling through space 666,600 miles per hour? That's a really interesting number too, isn't it? Nothing demonic about that. That's not weird at all. More of the Stu Peters Show continues next. Go nowhere.
There's a whole bunch of stories that have to be dug into, rethought, reconsidered, and in some cases completely discarded.
As modern Americans, we've been spoon-fed this dumbed-down, cartoonish, simplified version of history. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. Everything that we have been taught is part of a self-serving narrative written by the people who will say and do anything to keep us on a leash. Now, this version of history, some big-name corrupt families like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and their many associates are credited over and over and over again with propelling human development. Throughout the late 18 and early 1900s, almost every major American city was burnt to the ground. What if we really are quite literally living atop the ashes of an advanced civilization that's been hidden from us for our entire lives? Old Sleepy Joe, you thought he was gone. Joseph Biden, the corrupt poopy pants himself, he might have dropped out of the race, but he's not done just yet. So now the question is, will he jam through this hidden tax trap the last second right before he goes, where he could raid your retirement funds, supercharge your income taxes, increase your utility and gas prices, of course, inflating costs on everything that you need to live. But the good news is to protect your all you have to do is at a detention cardio miracle. Variety oxide, which support cardio miracle.
You're cutting
nitric
in and out, Sacred
oxide, so you get
lost audio completely now. Yo, Sacred, are you there? Technical difficulties, lads. 1 second.
Testing, testing, testing.
Loud and clear, sir.
Oh, that's weird. Hold on, let me try to fix this over here on my end. I don't know why it just kind of cut out on me. Let me try to restart real quick and jump back in. See, he said Elon name, and Elon said, get him out of here. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna try to bring up some of the squad, and you guys can politic about what we just heard in just a second. Be right back, y'all. Elon, chill, bro.
Oh, was that young Brian Sweet I see over there?
Well, what's up, man?
What's up with you, man? Been getting around these days. I hear you're hosting spaces and Stu Peters is showing up.
Dude, is that wild or what?
That's awesome.
I was quite shocked on that one. That was a pretty good day. Pretty good space. Is there going to be more to this with Stu, or is that was just a little clip of what's he on the show? Is he doing more?
I don't know. I hope he comes through. I tagged him in a post earlier.
This isn't live, right? Allegedly.
I mean, the Stu Peters thing? No, that's video. Like a day or two old.
Was there more to it with Witzik, or was that it?
Oh, yeah,
bad,
that's pretty much the wrap up. He gets into like commercials and promos for the upcoming stuff. That was pretty much the end, though.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. There was about 5-6 minutes on the end of that video, and I was kind of trying to fast forward through it to see if there was anything else. It kind of skated out of there kind of quick. We was kind of waiting for a little bit more deep dive, but seemed pretty much a surface level conversation with some interesting questions. At least he engaged. That was pretty dope.
Dude, and I feel like the engagement was, genuine too. It wasn't like that false, where it's like, oh, I'm just going to debunk everything you say because I don't believe it to begin with. He was like genuinely like, what is the answer anyway? Like, what are they telling these people?
Yeah, he was. When he came into MySpace, he was genuinely curious as well. Had some good questions.
Yeah, Brian, tell us a little bit about that. Because they were sending me that. I missed it, unfortunately. I'm about to catch a little bit of that replay. But tell us something about some of you guys back and forth in the space that you had the other day.
Well, for the most part, I mean, he just was talking about his curiosity about it. I forget what topic we were talking about precisely, but it was a little back and forth on that. But he said that he's curious on this. I mean, what we talked about was that Hibbler production with his Tartaria video he did, and how great that was, and went over that for a little bit. And then he said he's been looking into this and pretty much wanted to hear what the conversation. I think he actually fell asleep in the space because I was trying to get him to say something a little early. I think he fell asleep. It was kind of late though. I stayed, I don't know, like 11:30 or something like that. It was crazy. But
I kind of see him pop into the spaces on some late night stuff. But I know he was shaking the movement, so yeah, he probably did kind of doze out into the ether. But I can't wait to catch that replay, man. I'm gonna go back and listen to that, and probably after we shut this down tomorrow.
Yeah, it was a good space all around. I mean, not everybody was like pestering with questions that like it was the Let's Ask Stu Peters show or anything like that. But he was sitting back listening and taking it all in. he's definitely open-minded.
Dope stuff, man. I do want to appreciate you for shouting us out, Brian, man. You really didn't have to do that. That's straight love, man. I really want to thank you, man. Shout out to you for that.
Dude, that's not even nothing, man. I wouldn't even be doing this if I didn't meet you guys and come into this space. Nothing. I wouldn't even be here. I got nothing but love for you guys.
Likewise, man. And the fourth time's a charm. So glad you with us.
Well, I can't accept that because you're a Nazi, I heard. So I actually have disavowed public friendship with you, Brian, because I don't want them to think that I'm not, down with that.
Well, it's probably a wise move,
I want them to think you're not down with it.
Yeah, I couldn't get it out because it was so retarded in my head. I was like, I couldn't get it straight. I was all relativistically diverted and time dilated. I was confused.
I think
no worries.
I'm a firm believer people live in, so it makes me hateful and stuff. So whatever.
Dude, Stu Peters knows. Stu Peters doesn't care. Stu Peters came to your space.
Oh yeah, he knows. He's up with it. I heard him. He was talking with Alex Jones about it, and he was pestering him.
Dude, I also saw that the mainstream media is framing him as like crazy conspiracy theorist ringleader, goes full batshit crazy and talks to flat earthers or something like that, right?
It goes even crazier.
Yeah, and he's just like, okay, whatever. He posted it on Twitter. I'm like, oh, that's pretty ballsy.
He posted himself with a copy of Mein Kampf.
Yeah, see, all right. So he's just like full fuck it mode.
Like, yep, they're lying.
Hey, before I give us some of my thoughts, let's hear from the ambassadress. What's going on, Liliana? Glad to see you. Welcome to Flat Earth Fridays.
Hey, sacred brother, your voice brings me so much joy. I can't even tell you. I think I say this every single week, but I just look forward to your space. You have this amazing energy of bringing everybody together. It's like when your space happens, it's like everyone's here, it's so great. So thank you so much for just, committing to make this space happen. It's so much work. And yeah, I just came here to quickly do my ambassadorial duty and give you back the mic so that people who really know a lot more than I do can share their wonderful knowledge. And what I wanted to say to anyone that is hearing this for the first time or new people, to this space or whatever, like this is really like one of the best spaces. Of course, Brian's space is really great. All the other spaces are great, but this is the OG. And I wanted to bring your attention to our 5 illustrious teachers. I grew up in a culture where knowledge is really, really important and, highly respected. So I try to bring that energy over here and try to share that kind of feeling over here. And I have posted in the Purple Pill the list of our 5 illustrious teachers. I call them Alan G and Stone G and Shane G and Witsa G and Toby G. And when you add a J-I-G, it just shows respect. So I, always treat them with that respect. So it's kind of funny, cute and funny. But anyways, I've been hanging out with them on Discord, and I just wanted to share something that, getting to know them a little bit. It's like the more I get to know them, the more I like them, because not only are they extremely articulate, have great mastery over the knowledge, the physics, and also the English language itself. They're witty, they're funny, they have great sense of humor, and they're honest and super duper knowledgeable. They can answer any question, at least that I've witnessed anyway, like standing on their feet, boom, and they're really witty. And Shanji, he's so punny. He makes the puns, like he just pulls them out of thin air. And Alan G, he's just so knowledgeable. I mean, actually, it's hearing Alan here was on your space sacred, because the first couple of times it came to your space, I just thought, oh, this is for beginners, people that are first learning about flat Earth, and and I'm already a flat earther or something, so this. But then I heard Alan talk, I was like, oh, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And so I started coming back here more and more because I was like, oh, I can learn over here. This is more than just beginner stuff. And so, yeah, and they're honest, they're intellectually honest, but I think, the quality that has most attracted me and I think impressed me is their humility. Because I think, as we all know, hubris really is the greatest enemy we could have as individuals. Look what it did for Lucifer in the story, right? So it's always hubris, right, that makes us want to control others and dominate others. And I've not seen any of that in these 5 teachers. They're so humble, they're so kind, generous with their time. They give us amazing content for free. So please do support them. And we have other really great minds here also, like Ken and Piezo and Brian and TM and Mr. Xavier, and of course Sacred. I mean, all these people are super duper knowledgeable. So I think this is a great place to bring any of your friends that are trying to learn about flat Earth. But even if you are a flat earther, I would say that, if you start checking out their content and their material on YouTube or Rumble or the other apps that I have listed, you will see that, how sometimes you watch stuff and you say, oh, I feel dumber for having watched that. Well, this is the opposite. You literally will feel smarter for having watched it, or seen and hear what they have to say. And that is my actual experience. So you can literally feel more wrinkles, more creases going on in your brain as the neurons all connect, and you learn more. And it's very, very exciting to learn and confirm that, all my life I thought, well, why do I not feel an emotion? Why can I see nothing but a straight line at the horizon at the beach, And these people bring in the receipts and help you understand the physics of it. So please do support our teachers, support all the spaces, and loads of love to all you guys. And remember that humility is one of the greatest qualities that we can cultivate. So love you guys, and all the success to the Flat Earth community.
Thank you so much, Leliana. Every time you join to speak, you literally just breathe life into me. I know you say that I bring the energy, but I really couldn't do it without y'all. As a matter of fact, I do want to say a quick shout out to, of course, my co-commander, Proud Flurf. We miss her right now. I missed last Friday and she held me down, so I had to fight her to take the week off. We was going at it, y'all. Trust me. I said, Proud, chill. Go hang in the ether. You know what I'm saying? And go hang on to where we got it. But yeah, man, I couldn't do this without you guys. And Leliana, you're so right. The squad is just so talented, so focused. Just from experience, I don't know if you guys, host spaces at all, anybody in the listeners, but it's not an easy task. And the guys over there at Ether Cosmology, shout out Toby. They literally hold down like pretty much the rest of the week with Alan and Shane and the rest of the squad. And just like Leliana said, they really get into it. I don't even know how they do it. Like, I'm the cyborg and these guys are literally just referencing papers off the top of their head, referencing the sciences, referencing the physics, and making like rational and logical arguments against the paradigm using their own science. It's amazing, bro. So this is what Leliana's talking about. Like, obviously, like, we all have our different styles, different dynamics, but when these guys get to like down to the details, they make it really digestible and everything is there. You go to Alan's database, you go to Shane's database, you go to Toby's database over at Ether Cosmology. It is a wealth of information. And I honestly don't know how we got this far before they even came over here. Like I learn every time that they speak, like literally. And even when, some things may be misinterpreted, they are intellectually honest enough to go back and correct themselves. And it's like nothing. It's like, oh, yeah, that may have not been the right interpretation. Here is the right interpretation. And it still doesn't work from you. And it's just so dope, man, to see real truthers looking for, the actuality of where we live at and bringing it all together for us in like, 1 or 2 or 3 different places. So, man, shout out to you guys. I really appreciate you. Couldn't really do it all this stuff without y'all. Even the speakers and the listeners that join from week to week, and some of the new guys that popping in this week. Shout out to you guys too. But yeah, man, like this community is so powerful. Like it's just nothing that I really could have imagined when we first started in like episode 1. Like I had no idea what it was gonna be. Didn't know how much I was gonna learn. I always loved science and physics, right? It's just something that was just super cool to me growing up, but didn't really think that I was gonna have any usefulness for it, right? Like my guidance counselor didn't say, "Hey, Sacred, like you're pretty good at math and physics. You should probably go ahead and try to become this or try to do that." It was just like, yeah, go to a community college and do this, and the third. And I'm like, no, bro, like I wanna go to a university and learn some of these different things, but never really thought I was gonna be able to use it. And just discussing this particular topic has brought me back to the love of the sciences. It's like I've learned so much in such a short period of time. I mean, I know it says 110 episodes and it kind of seems like a long time, but when you see like how much different aspects that there are to this conversation, it's just like you could learn so much. There's so many different nuances when you're engaging in this topic, and so many bright minds. I mean, we got Stone up here, we got Ken up here, we got Piezo up here, we even got Taylor up here, and there's a few people down in the listeners too. Shout out to the level heads. And I mean, when you really listen to these people speak with their backgrounds on their own journey to truth and their own learning, it's just so much that you can get in one place. There's nothing like Flat Earth Fridays. There's nothing like the level heads, and there's nothing like y'all. So I really appreciate you guys for helping us build this up and getting real and getting to it. I mean, we hear every single week. Everyone gets a mic. If you got questions, we try to get the answers for you, and we try to learn from you guys too. Like this ain't just we're the teachers. Like we're students as well. Like we learn and teach each other, and that's what makes the community beautiful. So thank you, Liliana. I really appreciate you, and all the rest of the squad too, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, thank you, Madam Ambassador, and your check is in the mail.
Dude, shout
Yeah,
out to
we gotta
Lily.
start a GoFundMe for Sacred. This is a lot of work here. But man, I remember coming in here and there was like, I don't remember what week it was. It was like a year, maybe. I don't know if it was 2 years ago. It was at least a year ago. And there was like 12, 15 people as you and Proud holding it down. That was so much fun. Yeah, I remember going in the basement at my college, and I was just like, tired of doing work, and I was like, oh my gosh, Flat Earth Friday. I was like, it's pretty cool, man. Y'all turn up in here. And they're like, what? People ask me, why do y'all keep coming in here? Why do you keep coming in here? And I'm like, man, they turn up and have a good time. What you mean?
Tell y'all. I mean, this is exactly what I say. It's almost like you get ridiculed just for even wanting to engage, just for sitting in listeners. It's crazy. And she's not lying, yo. Like literally, when we first started, I mean, we had open mics all like the whole time. It was literally 10 people in here, if that. Like it was just the OGs. I mean, there was a couple people that we seen in the mentions and the replies. TM was in there in the field. Ken, of course, a few other level heads. Y'all know who y'all are. And we was like, hey, like we're just gonna open up space. Let's invite some of the guys that are engaging. And it was literally just a handful of us. And now on a Friday night, bro, like y'all could be anywhere in this world across this plane, and y'all hanging out on Flat Earth Fridays, man. Like, and that's so dope. I really love it, man. I appreciate y'all.
Do you remember your first one? Like what date it was? We should have like an anniversary.
So the very first space of Flat Earth Fridays came off of a W when we had a debate in a conspiracy space. A couple anti-flat earthers was over in a conspiracy space and wanted to challenge us, talking crazy. And we said, all right, let's pull up. You pick the topics. You dictate what we talk about. You dictate how we're gonna hold the debate. You give us the structure, and we are going to play in y'all field, and let's see how that turn out. Boy, we cooked them boys. We cooked them boys. You should have seen the mentions. There was globe earthers like, hey, look, I'm not a flat earther, but the flat earthers were so compelling. I don't even know how the globe earthers couldn't prove the sky was blue and the grass was green. Like it was crazy. I mean, they even had like an astrophysicist that didn't even show up. Like they were trying to, the whole team like didn't even show up at first. And it was just like, bro, like where's y'all squad at? Y'all was talking tough, y'all was talking crazy. And people just really enjoyed it. So we was like, well, let's keep this conversation going. So that was, I want to say like the summer of 2022. It must have been like somewhere like maybe around June, July, maybe something like that.
You can request all the information from Twitter from every space that you've had. You can even request recordings from them. I would try to figure out that first date because that'd be really cool.
You know, it's funny that you say that, man. Everybody just thinks it's so easy to defend the globe because it's what you believed your whole life. It's got to be easy. You're crazy. And then you start asking them like, what's the circumference? They're like, what? What's the radius? What? How deep have we dug? What? Area?
And
what?
And then they see Witsit, dude, and then they're just like, what?
Y'all crazy, man. I don't know what you're talking about. This is sorcery, man. You're
Well,
devil.
the problem is they learn it socially that incredulity is such an effective weapon in every other aspect of their lives to get what they want in life. But that they come up against science and they come up against guys like us, and that stuff lasts about 8 seconds, and they wonder what the hell they're going to do next.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Who's that? Oleg?
Yeah, that's Oleg. What up, man?
Oleg, welcome to Flat Earth Fridays, man. I don't know if you've been here before. Welcome.
Thank you. I've been here before.
Oh,
just a quick question. I've been listening to you guys, and so we've got like what, those 4 quote unquote astronauts, quote unquote space right now, right? With that funny looking shaken video. You guys know it, right?
Do we? Do we have them in space? Or were we looking at mannequins being pushed out of a portal in front of the camera?
Well, that's what I'm wondering at this point too. But I mean, if you sit here and just sort of just think about it, right? These people, they have to be in on it. So once they come back from wherever they are, whatever, under any rock or a cave they're hiding in, they're going to have to lie to their families and their friends and everybody that asks them. So what do you think about that? If that made sense.
Well, you have to look at the people they sent up. You have to look at their personal backgrounds. Like there were 2 guys and two women, 2 men, 2 women that went. Just off the top of my head, the woman with the blonde hair is a Scandinavian film director who has history in filming stuff in Antarctica and other, globe-oriented agendas in terms of her own film production. So if you actually look her up, and it's all very transparent, you will understand why it was those 4 people who were chosen. And this was not her first mission, if you actually continue to look. But this time she is the quote mission commander, if you can believe that, when the whole thing is controlled from the ground, allegedly. But no, you'll open your eyes a little bit more as to that question, and you'll stop asking it.
That's a fact. Just to add on to that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, loud and clear, man.
So I do believe that there is a certain level of having to be in on it within a specific group of people. I know a lot of maybe novice globe earthers or anti-flat earthers make this argument, well, everybody we have to be in on it. It's impossible. And that's not necessarily true. There hasn't been that many people to actual outer space, quote unquote, right? And, these governmental organizations are extremely compartmentalized, like extremely. And we know like there's, government secret black budgets and, special security or this, that, and the third, whatever the case is. So we know that this is not anything that's, new. Like we know that they are able to keep secrets. Like we know that. Furthermore, I don't want to really put her on the spot, but shout out to Jasmine. We have Jazz in the building. She joined Flat Earth Fridays. I don't even know when her first time was, a couple months ago. She actually had a relationship with the NASA organization, and she ended up leaving. And she has some of the wildest stories of some of the things that she's witnessed when she was over there. I don't know, Jazz, are you there?
Just before you go
Oh
there,
my God, are you gonna call me out like that? I
My
felt so called
bad.
out too. Like you were like, some of y'all don't want to show your face in here and draw attention to yourselves. And I was like, why are you gonna call me out like that? Like,
I mean, you told
no.
us already, Dad. You
I don't
told
want
us
all the
already.
heat that comes with that.
just before we go farther, one other point about that same blonde woman, one of the 4 who went up. She is now the widow of the guy who ran and was in the submarine tour of the Titanic. If you guys remember that entire fiasco that lasted a month or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That he was the guy in charge of that project and went down on that sub. So she lost her hubby. What are the odds of that? Hey?
Little sacrifice, huh?
Peace be upon him.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, no, that is very strange, man. Like some of these weird quote unquote coincidences. Like, nah. Gotta look into some of these things.
So again, if I don't bother you guys, just one more question, if I may.
Oh no, feel free, bro. This is kind of like open discussion. So
Yeah, the
chime
more
in.
the better. Just keep them straight up and we're good.
All right, right. So then, I guess then, what's the point? Why? Why fool the entire world?
You got an hour?
I'm genuinely curious.
Start with NASA's budget. 60 to 70 million dollars a day is pretty good motivation to lie your ass off. Would you not say?
I would say, but consider just all the world organizations, like every country.
Well, can I tell you my opinion? So we battle not, I believe in the Bible, right? And that's kind of how I got here.
I agree.
But we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and governing authorities. These rulers, it's telling you, is not flesh and blood. These are the enemies and the rulers of this dark world, our enemy. And guess what? They don't want you to believe in God. The best thing they can do is cover up God in every way. Okay? And that just makes a lot of sense to me. And they're on board with all kind of lies. I mean, we know, like, for example, I study biology. I know that they've completely lied about the theory of abiogenesis. There's no working theory to how life could start accidentally. They cannot replicate it. They don't have a clue. But guess what? Everybody in the world, all around the world, will teach this theory as if it is fact. Now, how can they all get on board with something that has zero evidence, zero replicability? They don't even have a working theory. And guess what? Everyone's on board with it. And it's just crazy. Like, they can absolutely lie. And I believe that's the rulers of the dark world that are, all together, all these, the basically evil forces of the world. They want to cover up God. And that just makes a lot of sense to me.
If you're just going to look at a sociological influence like faith, not to get too deep into it, but there's a very famous
I'll go deep into it.
very famous expression that says, look, if you don't believe in something, you will follow anything.
Yeah. Well, what do you believe in? And that seems like how you could easily get fooled by the whole world. We
As
should
soon
not
as you
listen to,
hook up your
I
common
believe in the Bible.
sense,
Obviously you don't. We don't listen to rudiments of the world. We listen to rudiments of the Lord who created the world. Do you understand?
you hook up your common sense and all of this will just appear
Let's
quite
hear your common
opaque.
sense about how we got here, buddy.
Yeah, no,
I
didn't
really want
want
to hear him
to.
answer this question, though.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
How did we get here?
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you. Who are you talking to, Taylor?
I'm asking you how we got here. You told me to hook up my common sense. I'm trying to hear yours.
No, I was addressing
talking to
him.
Oleg.
Yeah, no, I was answering the question with you. I was talking to
She's
him.
ready to go to
Oh,
battle,
sorry
dog.
about that. I'm
Be careful,
crashing.
Stone.
You can't turn Taylor up, man.
Don't mess with her.
You can't turn Taylor up, man. Y'all see what she did
That
to
was
Keon
hilarious,
last?
man.
Was it
She's
2
ready
weeks
to
ago?
cut me.
I love
She's
it though. I'm
waiting
here
right
for it.
up.
I love that.
That was awesome.
Man, I thought she was talking to me. I was already sweating.
God didn't create us. Well, how do we get here, bitch? Did you win right at your throat?
Right. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to. I guess I didn't want to bring in belief. I didn't want to offend anyone. But yeah, that makes sense. No, Taylor, it makes sense if the rules of the darkness are in control, and to avert your gaze from the Lord and just distract everyone with some infinite black space. But then you always get this kind of answer. Well, why couldn't God also do it this way? Right. You heard that before. Why what would stop him from making this infinite space the way the media
Anything
described it?
could be, you know what I mean? That's fine. Anything could be, but you'll see that their goal in the things that they tell you underneath, their actual goal is to make you feel insignificant.
Correct.
And once they get that, then, you know, what are you worth to yourself? And why would you disobey authority or think for yourself or do anything righteous or anything to reaffirm your sovereignty? Why would you do any of that if you don't think it's worth it in the first place?
Right, like mainstream, like puts us like in a constrained framework, right? They say there's nothing outside of the material world, and even within this material world, you're not special. You know, you're random. You just evolved from some soup or whatever the case is with some strawberry ancestors, right? And they don't acknowledge like step one. Like, how did things come to be? And when we make these like observations of like everything in our observable reality, it just seems like everything revolves around us, which would then lead to us thinking, okay, well, this looks like we're in a special and unique position. And if that is the case, since there's no place else in this entire universe like Earth, then how did we get here? Right. So it would make sense if I was some evil, diabolical, master manipulating type of dark force or whatever the case is. I want to mislead you. I don't want you to know that maybe this place is special and unique. Maybe there is a reason why there is a how do they call it? What's the terminology? A fine tuner, right? We see fine tuning in our, astronomical observations. We see it on a biological level. I'm pretty sure Taylor could speak to that. And if there is fine tuning, what is or who is the fine tuner? So, and then, that gets kind of like into, some of the like esoteric aspects. But I mean, even if you want to go to like basic level, it's just like, okay, if it's not a sphere, which is a finite amount of land and resources, which they can use to create some type of financial system to keep us enslaved because everything is finite, not abundant. Then that would allow them to keep us kind of enslaved. And if it was flat, maybe there is more land and more resources, which we don't have to live within a sickly environment. There's just so many different ways to attack that question of, what is the purpose? But if we take all of our, apparent observations of how everything works, it does seem like there's something special about this place. Like, so how did it get that way? And I think that's the true key, is deceiving you to make you believe that you are nobody, you don't have a purpose, you're just random. So just work while you have a little bit of time here for the first 65 years of your life. And if you do make it that far, spend the last 5-10 years trying to scrape together a few pennies to live the rest of your life in this reality, because there's nothing before and there's nothing after. But even physics acknowledge, it's like, where does energy come from? Like what, like why is everything vibrating? Like where is the source of all this? They can't really explain that. It's not created or destroyed, it's transferred. So where did it come from and where did it go? So these are just questions that we try to think like outside of the framework that they put us in. And they don't want you to think that way, because if we do discover potentially the truth, it will probably just free us. Because it's easier to put your mind in shackles to control you than to actually put a physical shackles on your body, because humans ain't going for that. Right? You can't sit there and say, yo, there's mad stuff over there. It's completely abundant and completely free, but you can't go there. Right? We'd be like, well, what are you talking about? Like, wait, if I go ahead and eat that plant over there, you talking about I can increase my life by 100 years, or I don't have to have disease or dis-ease? I mean, I don't gotta suffer? Like, and that's just a potentiality, right? Not really sure, but it's a possibility if this is a flat plane. So like I said, there's so many different ways that you can approach that question, which is why Stone said, like, do you got about an hour? Because there's so many reasons why you could lie about the nature of the earth in order to control the people that live in it. So
they're even coming at you physiologically, like from the very beginning. They're hitting you in what we call the reptilian subcomplex area of the brain. It's just above the stem at the back. It's in charge of your fight or flight reflex, your hippocampus, that kind of thing, as well as your sense of possession and scarcity. Got to get mine before it's all gone. All of that reflex comes to the very base of your brain function. And this is why they use a capitalist system. It is part of your natural programming, so to speak. It's right in your DNA. It's in your physiology that you are easily convinced as to that there would be scarcity in the world at all. There would be something that's not yours that you have to work in order to get, in order to, quote, earn. This has all been used against you from day one. It's just that you perceive that as normal, so it doesn't feel like there's anybody working against you.
Yo, am I the only one that wants to hear someone argue for biogenesis against Taylor?
Yes. Dude, I got super excited for a second.
I want someone to disagree with her about something soon.
Anybody who watched
anyone here think we came from apes or anything? Want to spin
anybody
that?
who watched that debate with not a Professor Dave against Dr. What's his name 6 months ago now?
James Tour.
Thank you, Dr. Tour. Yes, that was an outstanding debate. Indeed.
Yep.
You guys don't believe the retarded fish monkey frog lineage thing where like the fish banged the frog and then came on the land and then like retarded butt sex or whatever, as Garrison said, and then had a retarded fish frog and then that monkey had like the other monkey and then, you know, out came you. Like more or less that's the Steelman evolution, right?
What, you don't believe that? And then after that we got our human brains and, you know, made hammer and shit.
Yeah, it developed eyeballs, eyesight, perspective, vision, motor skills, fingers, ambidextrous, like
you know, whatever.
Hair loss.
Random, guys. Pure probability, okay?
Tell you what, I envied the monkeys that said, nah, we ain't doing that shit. Now they're just chilling out in trees, eating bananas and shit, not paying taxes.
Yeah, they
Just
opted out. How did they do that?
They opted. We ain't paying taxes. We ain't doing it.
Ours is the only species on Earth with more than 1,000 genetic defects. The second place runner has about 25. Just how did that come to be again?
I don't know, but somehow, some way, we built a lot of stuff that we can't build now.
It certainly doesn't sound like an evolutional process to me.
Hey, we taking all rebuttals, all arguments. As a matter of fact, there's a few people that are requesting, so we're gonna cycle through some people in a second. If I have to drop you, I'll definitely bring you back up. But yeah, man, we're gonna be here all night. If you're new to Flat Earth Fridays, we go from Flat Earth Friday into Stationary Saturdays. And if I got a double charge pack, we might touch Still Flat Sundays, but we don't really do that too often. I don't know if I can do that without my co-host. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, kick it with us, man. We here all night. We're going to be here. A lot of different things to discuss. If this is your first time in this conversation, you know, feel free to just come ask some questions. If not your first time and you have an argument against Flat Earth or argument in favor of the globe Earth, we're looking for exclusive evidence, feel free to request a mic and we'll get you back up here too. Let's slide over to Jasmine real quick and then Taylor. And Oleg, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we move on?
Oh no, I thought those are great answers. I'm satisfied. I just have one quick thing. 10 seconds. My dad once told me this story. I thought it was great. So you got a few scientists that come before God, right? And they say, look, God, we have all this technology, all this knowledge, and basically we don't need you. We can make our own creations, all right? So all we need, and God is like, okay, all right, yes, you show me. And they're like, okay, all we need is, you grab a little dirt, and God's like, you grab your own dirt. I thought that was funny.
No, it's excellent tautology.
A good one.
All right, well, I'm out. I'll be listening. Thanks, guys.
Later, G.
Appreciate you, Oleg. Feel free to request back up, man, whenever you want.
I think Oleg is a mind reading AI because I was literally about to talk about dirt. That's so bizarre. What in the world?
Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
when I was working in aerospace, I would say that all the time. I just want to go play in the dirt. Yeah, I made this new all account just to talk about everything I'm interested in. And you guys are in that interest group, so yay! Yeah, no, I've been dealing with a lot of agriculture, permaculture people. And it's really been interesting to me because of the ether and talking about free energy and sustainable systems, renewable systems. And I'm like, this really actually ties in. Like, who knew, agriculture, permaculture, like digging in the ground could actually relate to flat earth? How bizarre. It's a whole system, and I think we need to look into the micro systems that are on the earth for kind of clues as to what's going on up there. I really believe it's a closed system, and we should probably start looking under the ground too.
Yeah, no, that's such a valid point. I hear a lot about those topics as well. Like like when we talk about flat Earth, right? We don't actually mean just like a flat, like perfectly flat Earth, right? We talking about a geocentric, topographical, stationary plane, but it always leads to these other topics that are like fringe ideas that are outside of the current paradigm of mainstream information, and that's why I find this community like so inspiring, because it's a lot of things that I hadn't even considered before engaging in this conversation. Like, we try to focus on like the science and the physics and, history in this space. But I mean, tap in with some of the guys, man. Like they hold spaces on different topics, and, history is distorted, right? And we need to be aware of that. And there's a lot of things that they were considering a long time ago that they're not considering these days anymore. And I think it's important, just like Jazz was saying, to look into some of these things, because there could be like a huge like think about how far we've come, like within our current framework. What if that was all wrong, right? Imagine where we would be if there was some type of technology or science that actually incorporated etheric energy or background medium or different things outside of the topics that they say is the quote unquote truth. Like, we could be far more advanced than where we are now. Like, it's crazy. Like, they always say like, oh, this technology that we have is like new and cutting edge, but is it though? Like, is it really? What if there was some advanced technology that they know about and they're just like slowly rolling out over time? Because people as a whole, you don't want to just shock them, right? So we have to like guide them into whatever type of future that they're trying to build around us. So I find that like super interesting, and I want to start engaging in some of those other conversations. So if you guys have some interesting spaces, feel free to DM me and send it to me, because I'll pop in during the week. Great stuff, Jazz.
Yeah, no, and another thing, right? Is like I can't remember who was talking before me, but how they diminish us and like mess with our pituitaries and stuff, and they get to us through the food and the medicine and the atmosphere, and just like, why do they have to dose us so much? Like, what's that? I mean, it's
They're
not just
just
to give us
hedging their
cancer and
bets.
kill us. It's for some. I'm really like, what are they trying to keep us from seeing and perceiving? You know what I mean? Like, I'm really digging in lately into this stuff. Like, I'm so tired of it. I'm so
That's
tired.
why
I'm like,
I
it's
refer to
horrible.
them
It's
as the dark
everywhere.
merchants.
Yeah, they want you to focus on gravity and not frequency and vibration. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Taylor. And then we'll slide over to my man KC and then Jen. Go ahead, Tay.
Yeah, I had a question like a week ago. I posted on Twitter, and I still can't really get any answers to it. So if anybody in here has an answer, I'd love to hear it. I was looking at the speed of rotation of the stars. And actually, it said that the stars move slightly quicker than the sun in the sky. And based on the motion of parallax, that should not be. Like, the stars should not be moving quicker in the sky, because things that are further away should be moving slower. Like, if you look out of a car window, you'll see the things closer to you appearing to move much quicker than the things farther away. So I'm just trying to get an answer as to how, like, the stars could be moving quicker in the sky.
I can help you there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, the globies have this thing in their solar system model where there is actually the rate of rotation orbit rather around the sun itself. And when you take your 360 degrees of rotation and you split it up into 365 days to do those 360 degrees of rotation, when you're factoring in that once every 24 hours the Earth is spinning around, you're going to come to a change in synchronization the next time it comes around in the solar day. You're actually going to be farther down your path in terms of the sun orbit. So that's where you lose those nearly 4 minutes every
So,
day.
Stone,
The
you're talking
difference
about these, the solar versus sidereal day?
Yes, indeed. We
Okay,
call the solar day precisely 24 hours, and that's how we split up time. And then we relate everything else to that. That's why the sidereal day, according to the globies, is the off thing in terms of our perception of the celestial things, everything above us taken into account in one equation, so to speak. When you're right, actually, I think the more important time coordinate would be sidereal rotation, because there are just more things to notice about that. But that would screw us up as a species here on Earth in terms of the timing. So that's why it appears like it's out of sync. But that is the globy explanation for why.
Yeah, it just seems like with the distance, it should be appearing to move much slower. Despite that 4-day difference. Do you see what I mean?
Just under 4 minutes per day.
4
Yeah,
minutes. Okay, 4 minutes per
it's
day.
because they're talking about how we're supposedly moving at 30 kilometers per second in our orbital speed around the sun, and millions of miles in terms of an orbital diameter. It just takes that long to go around once in their model. So that's the little chunk you take out of it every day. Your nearly 1 degree change is what that amounts to.
Do you think that's strange though? And I was just wondering, like, do the stars at the pole also move the same speed as the stars on the equator in the sky?
Oh, well, they move at the same angular rate, of course. Yes, indeed. But this actually all takes me back to a video that I produced called "A Couple Thoughts About the Sun." So by all means, it's in my bio, so you can just right-click me and open me up in a new tab and look at my bio. The BitChute channel there holds now 60 videos, most of them to do with flat Earth. There's some other political stuff there too, if you want to watch that too. But by all means, scroll down and find my couple thoughts about the sun. And it's all in there. There's it's a cool little tune, and there's a fair bit of the geometry and the mathematics are shown according to the Globy formulae. So by all means, check that out, and I'm sure you'll have a good time watching that.
Is there anything cool that you can share that you found from that? And in particular, do you think there's anything strange about the motion of the stars in the current model?
I think it's strange in the interrelation and how they don't really do such a good job with the concept of eccentricity.
Yeah, and don't forget, their whole thing is based on the apparent motion of the stars. And if there is a motion of a star that doesn't comport, they just backwards compatibly adjust the model so that it does immediately comport. It happens all the time. So
the beginning part of that video focuses a fair bit on the diagrams they all show us in high school, elementary school, and university, representing the shape of our orbital path around the sun, and it always is drawn as such a very much ellipsoid shape as opposed to circular. And in the video, you'll see what NASA asserts fully geometrically quantified, which is my favorite thing to do. And it'll all make a fair bit of sense to you. And I'm sure you'll have a good chuckle when you see it end to end.
Let's see, if it turns out, if you add up the mass attracting mass and use the gravitational pull of the sun calculated by the square of the distance between the sun and the moon, then that math actually doesn't equate to the elliptical orbit and the equivalent acceleration and speeds that would be required. I think that's pretty much what he said. That's one of my favorite videos. I stole that from Stone before I even knew Stone. So
the other one, the Newtonian analysis you're going to like is what I called the gravity kill shot as a subtitle. Look for that video as well. I think that's just a couple thoughts about the moon and the sun. The moon, I think maybe it might be that title, but it definitely has the gravity kill shot in it. It's a slightly earlier video, and you like math and you like to see Newton get absolutely shot to hell. Watch that one too.
Is that why I immediately loved you in that video? Because I had
think
both
so,
those
Shane.
things. Yeah, that's probably
that
it.
was those moments for you.
So I did invite a couple people here. If you could just explain, like, for example, one inconsistency in their model, like that is easy to understand for everybody.
Just one?
Sure.
Just
Well,
one time? Just one?
Obviously, you can go all day, but I just
that
was
would
just
be
trying to throw that in
that
there.
would be an absolute pleasure, and I can sum it up very quickly. In regard to the most famous Newtonian equation about GMM over R squared, what we have to look at is a pair of things that NASA asserts about what we observe in the sky. One is the moon and its path around, allegedly, the globe, in that its orbit around us is 11% out of perfectly circular. So it's an ellipsoid, but it looks a lot more like a circle because it's only 11% between its maximum and minimum distance from us as it goes around us. That's point number one. Keep that in your head while we talk about the formula. GMM over R squared. Sure, there's a force, allegedly, going on, attraction, centripetal, between the Earth and the moon. However, there is also one going on between the sun and the moon. And that
three bodies. Be careful, son.
Here it comes. When you throw the numbers into the formula that NASA asserts about the mass and the distance of the sun, and the same thing with the moon, and the same thing with the Earth, you come up with three figures. Now, what I wanted to point out here, and here's the punchline, is that the attractive force between the sun and the moon is a little better than 2.2 times the attractive force between the Earth and the moon. Yet, I refer you back to point number one, somehow the moon's orbit around us is only out of perfectly circular by 11%. Those two cannot exist at the same time. Therefore, it's either the Newtonian aspect or assertion about gravity as the model is what we're throwing out, or we are throwing out the entire solar system model. Some's got to give because those numbers do not add up.
Yep. If you believe everything they say and you take all their numbers with their math and the mass and the density that they derive from using an indirect torsion measurement, looking downward on masses and assuming a density and then getting that right, even if you take all of that, the mass still doesn't work. It doesn't, like, mass doesn't attract mass. The speeds don't match. The mass, none of it works. And that was the first time I met Stone. And I was like, what a G. And then I was like, oh, he's got 10 more videos just like it.
Yeah. So I would invite you to watch the gravity kill shot because all of the figures I just mentioned are spilled out in front of you and they are all sourced from NASA's web pages, etc. They're the ones that are in every geophysics textbook you've ever seen, I'm sure, have been printed since you've been born, right? The numbers haven't changed. And if you plug them into the formula, that's what you get.
You know what it does change, though? You apply like a visual distance scale to it, and that's like a big no-no in the textbook. They're like, no, we're just going to give you a scientific notation number so that you have zero context of how many zeros that is and how far that is. And I think you gave it like a visual ruler scale, and I was like, what is this ridiculous shit? And then I was like, oh, that's the real oh, God.
Dude, when
I
Stone puts
actually
things in a graph and like shows you the actual discrepancy between what they're saying, it's insane. I love it because like we'll you know
Yep.
we read papers a lot. We'll gloss over the notations, and then Stone will be like, real quick, that's 37 zeros that they're claiming to measure. It's like, oh shit, dude, they almost got us again.
That's another thing that's in the gravity.
That was in the
kill shot,
details.
is that I get rid of all those zeros and look at the real ratio. Because when they just hand you a bunch of scientific notation, it's right in the beginning of my latest video about Einstein, how people hear nothing but brain static. The Gloobies are hiding behind formulae. This is the biggest part of the point we're making here. And when you actually take the numbers and plug them in and look at real world figures applied to the formulae that are their religion, the foundation of their religion, then the entire lie is instantly unraveled.
So let me just summarize that back and forth with you guys, because that was a lot of information. That was so dope. So initially, Taylor was asking about the difference of the rotations of the stars versus the sun, right? Because we see that the stars move at a certain rate, and then the sun moves at a certain rate. And they say, well, the stars is moving because of rotation, and the sun is moving like that because we're orbiting. Except the fact that we can't really detect this orbital motion, right? And then going forward, what Stone was referring to was the motion of these different bodies, and how even mathematically speaking, it doesn't align. And he's still even referring to an outdated framework. I mean, operating within a Newtonian framework, which is 1600s we're talking about. This is not having anything to do with Einstein. And we start looking into like these relativistic motions and relativistic effects. They don't even consider these curved paths. Right? Like, so on top of the math not working and even working within the outdated framework, when you move to the new framework of all this motion, they don't even consider curved paths as all like linear motions, even though they're going along these quote unquote elliptical pathways. And it just gets totally, nothing jives. There's no unified working model at all in the globe Earth paradigm. And I want people to really understand that. Like, if they're saying that this is a truth, and our observable reality that you guys are flipping and saying that it's all just our perception and it's an illusion. Even if you want to operate within that paradigm, it doesn't even work. It doesn't work together. So this is why when Alan's saying, hey, they break down these papers and they're going through the details, they're finding out that even at the highest levels of science and physics, they don't have it figured out yet. So that's why I say, like, don't just blindly believe in these surface level information, because even the scientific community says we don't understand how all this stuff works. It's all just abstract concepts.
They got you covered in the nomenclature department, though, Sacred. They whip up terms like curvilinear. They got you covered, man.
Yeah, linear geodesic non-curving spatial time distortion that actually is two masses attracting each other over a curvature of space-time that's the two geodesics, but from each perspective are linear. Like, yeah, that's meant to sound retarded because it is, guys. It's okay to say that. The whole thing is that, like, they get you to not understand it and surrender your understanding and authority to someone else. You're like, well, that sounds stupid to me, right? But I'm not a scientist, so what do I know? I'll bet the scientists think I'm retarded, right? So they must be right. And that's how they get most people. And that's just, I think that era is over.
Shane, I was going to ask you about your favorite inconsistency with their model.
I think
what do you think is the most blatant one?
Gravity. Gravity is a big one, right? Stone just did the aspects of that on the sun. The gravity interaction between the satellites and a plumb bob on Earth is supremely different. Like, if a gravitational equipotential difference on the surface is pulling a plumb bob on a theodolite when you're measuring a level from a mountain, but actually in satellite, when it's whipping through space at like 17,000 miles an hour with the gravity of all sorts of interplanetary bodies and the sun, has zero effect up there, tons of effect on the ground. But when you get to the math of gravity, like the basic physics behind little g and big G, and how big G is just swapped out with little g, and then they infer a density based on a torsion measurement, and they go, dun, 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 look, we have derived like the density of the Earth. And you're like, what? You guys weighed the Earth with a galactic scale? And they're like, well, no. We strung up 2 metal balls. We squinted real hard, and we got a really tiny threshold of a torsion measure. And then we said that was related to the density, and we produced from that equation an equivalent density constant that always works. And we're like, what? Wait a second. Anyway, what I think is the biggest discrepancy is gravity. It's also their biggest weakness. And simultaneously, I think our argument for it is one of our strongest arguments. So that's why I think it's their weakest point.
And they need gravity. They can't have their whole framework without gravity. Now, they don't know which gravity they want to use on different scales. They kind of bounce between different type of concepts and theories and things like that, but they need it. And that's why it's so funny, because y'all are hinging your entire framework on something that y'all can't even make work on all scales. Like, what, bro?
Dude, while we're on it, I have an open debate challenge on gravity that I don't think anyone will touch. No one will debate us on gravity. No one even wants to talk about gravity with us, it seems. Out there might be a contention that when you start mentioning gravity, and people get scared, right? Because they're like, "Oh, the Newton's law of gravitation is the equation of everything," and you know how they love those equations you just said, right? But in that equation, when you reduce it based on centrifugal force with the equivalent force and equilibrium, those masses drop out. And then you're like, oh, but masses can't attract mass if mass isn't in the formula, if you're left with just a periodicity and description with a constant, right? As we usually point out. So mass, man. Oh.
Can you believe we have 80 anonymous listeners right now?
No way.
What in the bot is going on?
Shane, I was going to ask you, so basically you're saying it doesn't work, like, because whenever you go outside of Earth's atmosphere, gravity just stops working, you know, like we stop getting pulled down at that point?
Not according to the Globies. I charted that out as well, although it's not a video that I have actually finally produced yet. But when you look at R squared coming off the surface of the Earth, by the time you do about 100 miles up, Big G is only attenuated by about 5%. If that gives you a ballpark sense of what's going on there.
So we should be having more gravity experience outside of the atmosphere.
No, less. No. R is on the underside of R squared is the denominator of the famous formula. So as you increase R, you drop the G-force. So the closer things are, the more attracted to each other they are. So by the time you get to 100 miles up, G is attenuated, is lessened by about 5%. So you're down to 95%.
So are you saying things should just float away, but we're not seeing that? Like, I'm just trying to get to the crux of the inconsistency that y'all mentioned.
I don't know about float away, because when we talk about our atmosphere itself, I think the one thing the Globies really don't ever want to address is, again, their own theorem, what they call the ideal gas law. And it's really part of how they define what a gas is its behavior, in that it will explosively decompress to fill any kind of less than pressure from where it came from. And that by itself is formulaic and mathematical proof of containment, regardless of what they want to say about G.
So you're saying like the gravity should not be able to contain the gas the way we see it?
Yeah, it doesn't contain it down here. It's not going to contain it up there. That's a matter of pressure. It's right in the formulae.
You know, like when you're doing accounting and you have like a miscellaneous bucket, and whatever doesn't fit in your other account, you just kind of throw in that bucket. Gravity is that bucket for so many different aspects of the, like when they have this equipotential difference on the surface, literally the definition of the shape of a geoid. They invented the shape of a geoid. They said that we lived on it, and they said actually it's a little bit wobbly because we got this differential equipotential that's like we don't really know what level is, because down is always a centrifugal attraction towards the center, and you know we don't really know where down is because we're always permanent tangents on and it gets complicated, right? So I think that the geoid is like their band-aid, and then they're like, look at all the equipotential difference over there. Must be pulling my plumb bog, and then they make adjustments based on that, and like you'll see all the differences like in the south. Like, oh, there's a lot of gravitational equipotential difference in the south. Like, why is that? Why? Oh, it turns out that's when all the vertical deflections of the stars get a little bit wonky, so they have all different, the corresponding gravitational difference, and it's crazy. And that's all tied to your original question with G and why we all love talking about gravity.
Hey, Taylor, I don't know if you're getting these questions like from some of the people that pulled up the Flat Earth Friday. Shout out to them. But let me ask you this: like, if the scientific community says, hey, everything that we look up in the sky is being caused by gravity. That's where all these motions are happening, right? Do you believe, or do you think that it should be logical or rational for them to be able to calculate all these motions with that mechanism accurately, all like simultaneously? Do you think that that's how it should work?
I think that it should be able to, but that's not what we're seeing. And no, nobody was really asking me to ask these. I'm just trying to get more information. I wish I would have had time to go through all of like the database, but I'm just trying to honestly like kind of I know I need to go through it, but I'm just trying to like get some points from it, you
No,
know?
these are great questions. They're opening up a lot of great discussions. So shout out to you.
It comes to a key point of actually having a mentally vivid picture of the solar system model. And that's something you will see in my video where I actually do a 2-scale modeling of Earth and the moon and the 384,000 kilometers between them, or, you know, whatever's going around there in terms of orbital diameter. And then relating that to the sun, which is 149 million miles away, or 149 million kilometers away, sorry, and actually put that on paper, scale to the size of the spheres allegedly involved, and how that actually looks. And when you see it spaced out like that, no pun intended, try to picture that there's any gravitational force between objects that size at that distance. It's absolutely mind-boggling to think that they even tried to pass this over on us.
And another thing, man, like to piggyback off of that, Stone, and towards Taylor, the way that they built it, I'm sure you probably know this, that they said that they derived the universal gravitational constant, big G, which was supposedly done by Cavendish with his torsion balance that Stone was mentioning. But in that experiment, if you look at it, you would have to be able to isolate the effects of gravity of everything else. And in that experiment, the effect of the gravity of Jupiter would have been equal to that of the lead balls, and that of the moon would have been like 100 times greater. So even like the constant that they apparently derived to use to scale the universe off of is completely bunk in the first place. So there's literally no independent frame of reference, and two, no independent constant that they can use to scale the universe off of.
I didn't actually mention Cavendish, but to
You said
your
the torsion
point about,
balance, right?
No, I didn't. To your point about isolation of gravity, I have only seen that successfully done through electrostatics.
Correct.
It's the only way I've ever seen anybody isolate gravity. And it certainly hasn't happened with like a larger mass or a more proximal large mass above an object to make it, you know what I mean, less attracted to Earth, so to speak. Yeah, good luck with that.
So look, guys, I do want to, I think we lost Jan. Jan, if you're down there, come back up if you can. I think there's a few requests. I do want to kind of get to their hands and kind of bring some new speakers up. So if I drop you down, I'll bring you back up in a minute. But that was some great back and forth. Thanks, Taylor, and thanks, Stone and Piezo, my guy. Let's slide over to KC and then Brian Sweet. And then I'll see if any of the other squad up here have anything to add, and then we'll rotate some mics up for some new input. What's up, KC? Good to see you, man. Long time no see.
Yeah, what's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, man. Loud and clear.
Yeah, so, well, I kind of wanted to make a couple of comments. One about the stars. It's kind of funny how, you know, we're flying through space at 500,000 miles an hour, and not one star has changed its position from a pyramid. I mean, that's logical right there. I mean, you don't even need to get into big math, you know, and science and all this stuff to go and observe that these pyramids from 5,000 years ago still line up with the same stars that they have for 5,000 years. So if they're actually moving, why don't we have different stars over different pyramids? I mean, that's kind of one big thing. Second thing is you know, Sacred, I'm a radio frequency technician. So I work with towers. I'm actually contracted with AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. and none of them use any satellites for their GPS systems. That's kind of a big thing that really woke me up with that was like,
Hold on, Casey. Slow that down just in case they ain't hear that. Say that one more time for him.
He said his GPS system is strictly tower-based, did he not?
I mean, it is. We put all the programs in. I program all towers actually in the state of Georgia, and I do Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So we go in and we write these programs, put them in. I'm actually helping the lead design of the 6G that's supposed to be coming out. Nothing has anything to do with satellites. So what, I mean, if this is the better way of communication, why don't we have so many satellites up there? And why in an open field, when I get away from a tower, do I lose connection with my GPS if there's satellites that are covering the base on this? So, you know, a lot of people don't ever consider none of those things, you know, and you can also go through a bed of trees, right? Still have open above you. Satellites should still be producing the signal to you, but you lose signal there too as well. So, I mean, these are just a couple of things. One of my biggest, what Taylor was asking about, you know, one of the biggest debunks on the round Earth itself, because if you look into mainstream NASA or science or whatever you want to call it, they say every 6 months the Earth will tilt back and forth, right? Every 6 months. So why during the winter solstice do you have the sun, which on the 22nd of December lower 10 degrees, and then on the 25th, on the third day, the sun rises again, and you're back at the same position? If that was possible, then why, you know, it can't do that on a rocking back and forth every 6 months, you know, trajectory of the Earth itself. So, you know, those are a couple of things that, you know, I've asked. Actually, I got another one, Taylor. Sorry.
But still, thank you so much for that splendid personal testimony. That's invaluable.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
he
well, I
have
mean,
to be
not-
in on it? No, kidding. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could be in on it, you know. I mean, I definitely could. And what's funny is you know, we get new people come in and I ask them all the time, I'm like, all right, so did you bring the programs for the satellites? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, you didn't bring the program for the satellites? And they're like, no. I was like, yeah, I'm just messing with you. There is no programs for satellites, because if it worked that way, we would have to install these programs, you know, essentially to, you know, get them to download new features and stuff like that. And Google wouldn't be running around with a camera on top of their car. I mean, that it's just that simple. But also shooting stars, if you want to call them shooting stars. I don't know what they are, but why do you never ever experience one coming from the horizon? If we're in this space and these stars are just going wherever they want to, and we're just spinning out of control and stuff. I mean, that's another big grave detail that a lot of people don't want to talk about. So yeah, but that's about it. But I did want to bring up something Taylor brought up, biology and stuff. Before you guys go crazy, yes, I believe in a Big Bang and I believe in evolution. Now, let me explain myself first, though. So the Big Bang, if you go into the Bible, right, what does it say? God spoke, God spoke, God spoke, right? So when he spoke into existence and his voice is like thunder and stuff like that, it actually made a bang. This is what put everything in motion and put everything in existence. So once everything became in existence, then evolution took over, because if you look in true evolution, not the monkeys turn into men type of crap, you look into microevolution and you look in adaptation. We can clearly see this in front of our faces happening. And a lot of people don't want to say, oh, well, I believe in evolution. Well, why can't we believe in the right type of evolution? Why do we have to go extreme and say, well, evolution is completely fake, when God spoke everything into existence and he made the body do what it does? That's why we have so many different bone structures, different type of people, because of their environments that they adapted to. And adaptation only takes about 40 years. So you can't really say, oh, well, millions of years. We don't have to go that route. We never had to go that route. We just have to go and understand what happened in the first book of the Bible. And one more thing, Sacred, and I'll be quiet for a little bit. If you do believe in the Bible and the sun was created on the fourth day, what was the earth rotating around for 3 days?
That's a good question. I was just gonna say like microevolution and adaptation are different than macroevolution, where you basically have like different speciation and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. And it's very interesting. Like, if you've ever looked, if God spoke in the waters, did you know that if there's like a sound bubble that collapses in the water, that actually causes a little explosion of light? So yeah, that's really cool.
Actually, you just tricked something in my head. So we've had a lot of people argued with me about, so in physics itself, water always finds its level, right? So we all know that. Everybody knows that. They learned that in physics class when they were in high school. We all know that. But what they do is they trick you with this controlled experiment when they take a cylinder and put water in it, and then it bubbles up at the top. And they say, oh, look, water curves. But what they are failing to explain is that the positive molecules of that water are attracting to the negative molecules of the glass. So that right there debunks that. And that's one of the worst experiments that they can come and say, well, see, water curves.
Ooh, pure heat, yo. But Casey, I missed you, bro. Yo, Casey was one of the OGs that was here. I don't even know, in the early days of Flat Earth Fridays. That's why it's such a pleasure for him to come drop some sauce. He's been talking about this type of thing since, like I said, since the beginning, man. It is so good to hear from you. And you made a really good point. Sometimes in Flat Earth Fridays, we really get into like some of the technical sciences, and it may be a little bit in depth. But just simple stuff, right? Just like he said, like we were just talking about star rotations, bro. The stars don't change. Like they still aligning. Like how is that happening if we're moving at the motions that they claim? Like these are just simple things that kind of set me on my journey and set me on my path. And I want you guys to think about those things too. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, if they claim these stars to be at infinite distances, I'm gonna let Brian Sweet go in a second. He gonna tell y'all how far a light year is, because we got into the light year bag a couple months ago. So yeah, it's so simple to say, oh well, they're just light years away. I ain't gonna tell you how much one light year is, right? I'm gonna let Brian tell y'all. But yeah, of course, if it's so far in a vacuum of space, then it's not really moving. We have to wait, billions of years in order to see that. Like, bro, come on, man. Like, maybe the stars are just right there, bro. And maybe they're just attached to something that's just rotating. So, shout out to you, Casey. I don't know if you want to say anything else. If not, I'll slide over to Brian and I'll let him drop some sauce on you guys too as well.
Well, why can't the solar system be in the firmament? Why does it have to be all the way out everywhere? Why can't it just be in the firmament? I mean, who even says how big the Earth really is? Okay, fair enough to them. They say it's 24,000 miles circumference, whatever. Maybe it's a lot bigger than they really think. Maybe we don't know. But that's another thing. So I kind of keep things like open-minded with it. But I do believe that the Earth is more it's more flat, but no, I do believe in mountains and valleys. So yeah, I don't think it's a flat disc like that.
Exactly. Go ahead, Brian. What's up, man? Appreciate you, Casey. Shout out to KP too. What up, Brian?
And that was some good stuff. What'd you say? Did you bring the program for the satellite? Man, did that hit anybody hard on that? Dude. They probably heard it and didn't even catch on what you were saying. Are you saying satellites are fake? Oh, my goodness. No, but kind of touching back on that, what are some inconsistencies, man? Are you reading my mind, bro? I was all like, man, what is going on with all of these measurements? All of them. Every single one of them. And I was trying to think, which one is the most egregious? Which one? Have you ever heard of how long a light year is? Anybody? 5.8 trillion miles.
Hold on, say that number again, bro, because I think they glitched out when you said all them zeros.
5.8 trillion miles, man. And people are
just
like,
one light year, bro. And there's no star that's 1 light year away. Okay, just one light year, just one.
We got Polaris at 323 light years, and I'm over here going, well, who measured that first one? Who? People are like, well, you scared of big numbers? You don't understand big numbers? No. That's the problem here, is I do understand these numbers, and it's unachievable. You can't. You ain't measuring no light year. That's a guess.
Hold on, you silly flurf. I gotta correct you. That was the old distance. That was before, right? They assumed and they calculated Polaris to be at 300 light years. They pushed it like 30% even further, Brian. Come on, bro. It's 430 light years now. That's the new number.
I thought that was where it was at, and they brought it back to 323. See, that
They can do whatever they want, man. To be totally honest, who knows these days?
It reminds me of yet another video that I did called Couple of Thoughts About Stars. And I recommend everybody watch it. It's on BitChute too. And it deals with those very big numbers and their what they call apparent and absolute magnitudes in terms of brightness and how to deal with the incongruity there. It's a tasty little treat with a bunch of Eddie Bravo in the background.
Dude, that is
Speaking
the
of-
best trick they've pulled, the apparent magnitude. It's like, yeah. So when you look through the telescope and you see it, like, forget about that value, dog. We got the new figure here that we all agree upon. So this is what we're gonna base the mass of that star off of. It's not even what they see, lads. It's what they feels.
It's the absolute magnitude.
Speaking of empiricism, right? If you tried to calculate parallax angles, they're actually so minute that it's frequent that people get negative results and they're like, oh, you must have fucked it up, right? So you got to redo it. It's so minute and tiny that frequently it gets inverted. So like when they're calculating giant distances based on these tiny, tiny angles, you imagine a little fluctuation goes a long way. So like, whoops, off by a bajillion miles or whatever, right? No big deal. We'll just dismiss half of it, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Again, guys, just for clarity for the audience, 1 light year, 5.88 trillion miles. Multiply that by 400, bro.
Jesus
bro.
Christ.
Yeah, and to add on to what Shane said real quick, sometimes the negative parallax angle exceeds the positive one. You know what they do, boys? They just say, oh, you know what? That must have been a positive because we know heliocentrism is true and they all have to go in the same direction.
Like we know the Earth's moving around the sun, even though we've never detected it. We know it to be true. So we'll just take those 46% error margin and we'll assume that's wrong. And then the rest of it's going to be evidence for motion.
What you got there?
Bro,
is what we
our
call
negative parallax space that we did, that was so legendary. Bro, I'm for all y'all that's new here, I'm sorry y'all missed that. Y'all go to the archives, tap in with Alan, tap in with Shane. Bro, we had the timeline in a frenzy. We started saying, hey, your stars are supposed to be moving that way. However, they're appearing to move in the opposite direction, about 50% of them.
What's up with that?
What's up with that, bro?
That's what you call a defective measurement.
That's just instrumental error consistently in globular favor, as always.
You know what the answer to that space was, Sacred? Some guy, I can't remember his name. It's Astronomy Live, actually, is what it is. He did like a follow-up video, right? And he was like, oh my God, I started to panic because all these flat earthers started talking about negative parallax and the figures and numbers they were saying frightened me. I lost sleep for days or whatever, right? Something to that effect. And then he goes and looks into it and he's like, oh, no worries, guys. They're actually reducing it down to zeros and turning all the negative ones into positives, just like they claimed in the first place. But the fact that they're reducing it more and more every time they take the measurements makes me feel real good inside.
Astronomy Live is a retard.
That's pretty much
Be nice, Shane. You know he got to deal with the ops. He got to say that.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, y'all didn't know. My bad. I'm talking too much. My bad.
Those negative parallax angles will get you. And the cool thing about parallax angles, lads, they're triangles. You know what's cool about triangles? If you flip them in the opposite direction, the baseline of the triangle becomes the star movement, and then your fixed position on Earth. So actually, all parallax and stellar parallax observation angles are reverse compatible with a geocentric position inherently.
Are you saying that geometrically they're equivalent no matter what? That's weird.
Yeah. Come on, y'all can't be telling me that. They told me parallax proved that the Earth was a globe and it was in motion.
Well, wait.
Now you're telling me that it's geocentric equivalence?
It could also
punch the ether.
The motion of the stars, right? Everyone knows that the empirical measurement empiricism, like it can't tell you which one is moving, right? Even Einstein is famous for saying that all you can do is measure the motion to tell the source of the motion. Well, according to relativity, you have to get outside the reference frame. According to Einstein, it could never be done with any terrestrial observation or experiment. So whatever. People on the internet are like, nah, it's done all the time. Okay.
Man, I really thought I had the bomb thing down. That pisses me off.
What's
the
that
bomb
now?
thing, the bomb thing.
The bomb on the train, man. Thought I
Oh
had.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
guys want to go to relativity?
Or maybe that's how they moved Polaris all the way to 433 light years.
It's definitely how they moved the Earth, bro. They were like, all the measurements failed. So you know what we can do? Well, you know how coordinate systems work? Okay, well, you know how inversions work? It's kind of like that. We're going to invert your coordinate system. We're going to move the whole universe around you. Boom, Earth got moved. Einstein, the Earth mover.
Man, y'all are hilarious, man. Look, we do this every single week, y'all. Like, we really just be having fun doing this. But there's a lot of like real information. Like, don't believe anything that we're saying. Go look into some of the stuff that we're saying and go verify it yourself and ask yourself questions like, why are the flat earthers saying things that seem to be true? Why does it seem to contradict the globe earth paradigm? Like, literally, like, listen back to what we're saying. Go do your own research and bring your questions. And let's figure this out, bro. Shout out to y'all. Brian, you had anything else you want to add?
I was just gonna say, check out and try to find out who actually measured that light year, because I could go for one of them tapes, man. I'm sure it's kind of expensive, but I'll go for it. But,
It's probably like a relativistic measuring tape,
It's neither here nor there. It could be. I could already have it in all reality. So, but
I'll bet you somebody looked up at the sun or the stars and stared directly, and they were like, boom, measured it. Got it.
there it is. But I'm going to drop down. I'm probably going to dip out. It's getting a little late. You know me. But I'll probably be back. You know me.
Later, Brian.
Shout out to Brian, man. Hey, y'all stop hating Brian, man. He's a good guy. Funny, too.
He's like a hate magnet, though. So at the same time, having him around, just we all get less hate. So, who hates that?
I absorb it all for you guys. Take them all, man. I got broad shoulders, man. I can.
What a good guy. Thank you, bro.
I can handle it all, man. I can handle it. It's all good. It's all good. You have a good night, though, man, guys. We'll see you later.
Likewise, man. We're going to keep it moving. Shout out to Sweet. Hey, let's slide over to, I think it was, let's go to Steamboat and then Jazz, and I'll see if Ken, Flat, or Piers want to add anything in. Go ahead, Steamboat. What's up, bro?
Yeah, hey, guys. What's going on?
Welcome to Flat Earth Fridays.
Yeah. I've been listening for like an hour and a half, and there's so much I want to comment on that I don't even know where to start. So since
You didn't write it down?
Well, since I've been the first Globey on for a while, I'll leave it up to you guys. What point?
Oh, he's a globe earther. All right, let's go. Let's get it.
So like, out of all the things said in the last hour and a half, what do you guys feel is the most worthy of a response?
Directly addressing gravity and all the arguments that we made of the derivation of big G, little g, distance to the sun, mass and numbers. What do you got?
Well, I mean, obviously easy. Like gravity is calculated directly by mass and distance. So obviously the sun has
what kind of gravity?
Huh?
What kind of gravity are you calculating? First of all,
what do you mean? What kind of gravity?
Oh, does somebody want
I think he's going with the regular old mass lie. Is that about where you're at, Steamboat?
The wrong
Well, I mean, gravity is gravity. I mean, I don't know if there's any variations on flavor of gravity.
He's asking if you mean the kind of gravity from Newton, like net mass attracts mass, or the kind of gravity from Einstein, like it's not a force and it's space-time warps and creates a shorter distance for it to fall through.
Literally, well, I mean, effectively, they're both the same. They have the exact same effect.
No, they're not. One is
said nobody ever.
One Newtonian ends up becoming an approximation of Einsteinian the way they did the math for it. They're not exactly the same, and they have fundamentally different consequences. One's a force.
Yeah, Newtonian was a very direct element, right? It's like it's measuring.
Hey, please don't interrupt in the middle of his speech, please. Or when the other person's talking, just give it a second.
Did I do that? All right.
Thanks, Alan. It's okay. I was finished. He's good. He's good. It's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's kind of you're measuring the same thing at that point. It's like Newtonian gravity is looking at the direct force, but then Einstein comes around and says, hey, it's not caused directly by the mass itself, it's caused by the warp of space-time. So it's the same calculations, it's the same motions, different.
You want to know?
Go ahead, get it out. Different
Yeah,
what?
it's the same thing. It's just it's a different cause, but the Newtonian math still works, especially on a planetary level.
No, it doesn't.
Of course,
the
it does.
same thing. Hold on, I just want you to listen to what you
You
said,
just
Steve.
were
I'm
not paying attention.
Steve, so you said it's the same thing, but a different cause. So there's different gravities.
I mean, it's the same effect, right?
No,
It's like if you're looking at planetary masses and you're using only Newtonian gravity, the math still works. The only problem with Newtonian gravity is it just didn't explain why gravity exists, but it still
No, that's
describes
not true.
gravity quite well.
That's not true at all.
Can
You were
I?
not
No,
paying
it is.
attention.
Can I
No.
share a secret with you, Steamboat?
Sure. Yeah.
So you know Newton's second law, right? It states that quote, the change of motion is ever proportional to the motive force impressed and is made in the direction of the straight line in which that force is impressed. This is
Sure.
written as force equals mass times acceleration. So that's the second law. What it means in layman's terms is that whatever force you apply to an object of mass m will result in an acceleration a. The force is the cause, the acceleration is the result. That means that if I have, 3 different objects of different masses and I apply the same force to each one, they will all experience different accelerations, right?
Yes, correct.
Why is it that all objects, regardless of mass, experience the same acceleration from gravity? That would imply that they receive different forces.
By when you say same acceleration from gravity, are you talking about
F equals ma?
Everything falls at 9.8 regardless of its mass.
So that's exactly what it means. So what you're talking about specifically is how things react to specific Earth gravity. That 9.8 meters per second is not a universal truth. It's an aspect of the math, but that's going to change depending on the body of the gravity.
No,
Real quick,
So
where
things
do
are
you-
not going to fall at the same rate. They're not going to fall at 9.8 meters.
Yeah, where do you
Everything
get that?
does.
Where
Everything
does
falls at
9.8?
9.8.
Yeah, where does that
regardless
come
of its
from?
mass.
Yeah, if I drop a giant stone
Earth's gravity.
on Earth, you're saying it works on Earth but not in other places.
No, I'm saying the same equation works, but the aspects of the equation are going to change based on the mass of the body that you're talking about.
Oh, so you're saying on the moon, little g isn't a equals 2 times the height over the time squared of how I drop something, right? You're saying that it's different?
Yeah, I mean, the mass of the moon is going to change it from 9.8 meters per second, like it is on Earth, to whatever it is on the moon. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, how would that equation specifically change the mass without any mass in it? Because again, it was little a
So the
acceleration equals
equation-
2 times the height over the time it takes to fall squared, right? That's the
Yeah,
equation.
well, that's what I mean. Like the equation, like in terms of the fundamentals of it, remains the same. It's kind of
But
like
you said the
2
mass
no,
of
but
the
hang on.
moon
It's
would
kind of like,
change it.
but if I said 2 plus 2
Hold on a
equals
second. Let him
4,
go. Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, if I said 2 plus 2 equals 4, that is true. That's the math. But in the same equation, I could say 2 plus 5 equals 7. It's still the same math. It's still addition, but the vectors have changed.
That's gobbledygook. You said it would be different on the moon because of mass. I said there was no mass in the equation. You want to try again?
What do you mean, no mass in the equation of gravity?
Dude, did you want to do something else, PCO? Sorry, man.
Just let me one second. So I understand your point, Steamboat. Like, yes, under the gravity field equation, the GMM over R squared equation, right? You set MA equals GMM over R squared. The little m's cancel out. You just have G and the big M over R equals the acceleration. That gives you your A, which for Earth is 9.8, and they said that by plugging in the radius of Earth and then the GM, okay? But they didn't know the M and they didn't know the G. So they said that they took a guy into a shed with a wire and a metal bar and 2 lead balls on 2 other wires, and they hung the little lead balls off the 2 wires off the bar, and
Yeah.
they measured big G down to like 11 decimal points. And you think that allows you to measure everything in the universe starting in the late 1700s?
Did I say that?
Well, that's what the paradigm says, right? And my point in bringing this up is that all we're able to confirm, right? All that we're able to confirm is that everything falls at the same rate on Earth. And if we use F equals ma, we get a constant acceleration, but that means that the force must be the variable term. And regardless of if you like set the force equal to another equation and pick it apart that way, the fact is that when we still use that A and we plug it back into just the regular F equals ma, the force becomes variable every time it touches an object. So it shows that the force is dependent upon the mass, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point.
And so if the force is dependent upon the mass, how would you ever A, independently verify that, or B, ever independently falsify that?
So for one, the experiment that you mentioned in the shed, I can't remember the name of the scientists or the name of that experiment. Cavendish, yes, the Cavendish one. So that was actually almost an independent variable of that, and that is something that the interesting thing about the Cavendish one. It's like like you can replicate that. You can do that yourself and
How
do
come
the math.
nobody ever does? How come
No,
there
they
isn't
do.
one
You
set
can-
up right
there's a
now?
ton. You
How
do
come
that.
they don't have one at Disneyland? How come you cannot go and see
Why would
one?
you have that at Disneyland? How boring would
Why
that be?
wouldn't you? That'd be the coolest thing for all the science nerds. to
Sorry,
come
is
see mass
Disneyland a
attracting mass.
science education center? No, it's
Oh,
not.
absolutely.
Hey, man, hey, y'all go look into Disney and Werner von Braun, man. You
Oh,
asking some
man.
questions. I'm just saying.
I don't
I'm
know. You're
just
saying
saying.
it's just. I just find it weird that you say why isn't that at Disneyland when you know where it is in.
Have you
in
not been
physics
to Epcot
classes?
Center?
which
Have you
is
not
clear.
seen Epcot Center for the last 30 years? It's all about going out into the moon and being spacey this and rockety that. That's what Disney's all about, man.
I know, but the Cavendish experiment is watching two things imperceptibly slowly move together. Sorry, but that's not
Yeah.
necessarily
How much?
unattractive.
Yeah, in an environment where they're not isolating gravity.
Yeah, but I mean that's not attraction level anything. That's the
Hold on.
lamest thing you could ever watch.
Steve, but what do you what do you think about that? What Stone just said, right? Because if you're saying, hey, we have this thing called the Cavendish experiment, where mass attracts mass, which is an outdated gravitational theory, right? It's 1600s. Y'all move into relativistic effects, but let's just work within, for some reason, your outdated paradigm. Shouldn't you be able to say, hey, gravity is causing this? Let's make sure by isolating every other variable that could be affecting this experiment. Do you agree with that?
If by eliminating every other variable that can affect that experiment is we take this experiment outside of Earth's sphere of influence, then no, because that's not even a thing.
Well, so you're basically attributing a cause, but you can't eliminate all variables to make sure that it actually is the cause. Is that what you're saying?
No, of course not, because we can see the cause everywhere we look all the time. Like
that's reification.
Einstein's theory of relativity and Newtonian gravity is one of the most substantiated theories in science because it explains exactly orbital mass.
Okay, so
look, when we realized,
Hold on, let him finish, y'all. Let him finish.
Look, a good example of this is like when we realized there was a weird shift in, I think it was the orbit of Uranus or whatever. There was like some weird thing going on with that. And so the
perihelion of Mercury. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It wasn't Mercury. No, it was further out. But what they realized was there should be another gravitational body that's pulling on this. And based off these calculations, we can assume that this body should be here at this time. And then we looked and, oh, look, there's Neptune. That is a theory that created a prediction that worked.
Well, I'm sure Alan would love to talk to you about that after we finish this point because, you know, you can go back in time and rewind the clock. Just like you can go forward with the planet's orbits using Kepler's laws, you can go backwards. And at the time they claimed to have measured the anomaly in order to predict the planet, Neptune wasn't anywhere in the vicinity to be able to act upon the body. So it was actually just a lie, something that they had already observed and wanted to say that they predicted. But that's not what I want to focus on. The reason I brought this up, I kind of want to. It's very hard for everyone not to jump in because like we all know the answers. It's like, oh, we got to give it to you. But I want to get this out of you. I want to get this out of you, Steamboat. So
Hey, be careful, Steamboat. We get the cooking up here. We being very kind. Okay.
Yeah, bring it, man. Like, I'll
You sure, bro?
whatever
You
you got.
sure? Hey, there's been a lot of glowbirds that had that same energy and they not here no more. There's a reason for that. Is that it said, look, bro, it says episode 110 for a reason.
Hey,
You see how many,
check it out.
bro, you see how many people's in here? It's a reason why it's like that. Listen to Piezo and then respond to him directly. Go ahead, Piezo.
I will. Go. Let's hear it.
all right, so yeah, I just want to be cordial, man, and that's the way I like to roll. Is just like we have a cordial conversation. But anyways, I respect you for coming up on the stage. But here's what I want to ask you. So about the Cavendish experiment, let me give you just a few specifics, and I want you to be honest. I know you have a preconceived notion, but most people don't read these original papers to get this stuff. That's what we like to do, because when you really look deep, it might change your mind about what you think. So hear this, and then we'll see what you think. So this experiment is supposed to be a scientifically sound experiment in which they are able to control for all potential causes of all forces involved, right? To isolate specifically the force of gravity, which in nature is the weakest of all forces and is thousands of times weaker than all other forces, okay? So in order to do that, he hangs his balls off the rods. So he's got a little ball and a big ball, okay? He's got a little ball that's less than a kilogram. He's got a big ball that's almost 160 kilograms. I'm not going to give all the decimal points, so it's just going to drown on for too long. But think just a little 1 kilogram ball and a little 160 kilogram ball, okay? And he puts them close to each other. They're both hanging from a balance so that little 1 kilogram ball is supposed to get pulled in by the mass of the big 160 kilogram ball, right? And he's got this bar that the ball is hanging from that's twisting, okay? And the idea is that based on how much he watches it twist, the fact that it twisted must have been caused by the mass of the big 160 kilogram ball. But here's the thing. Even though there's plenty of parts in like the experimental process that I could attack, I just want to show you some numbers that don't make sense. While this experiment was happening, even if the fact that bar never stopped moving, it never came to equilibrium, it never came to rest, which is ridiculous on the face of it, even if we ignore that, based on the masses and the distances involved, they were about 1/4 of a meter apart, these balls, right? And based on the differential in the masses, Jupiter, as I said earlier, would have had roughly the same amount of gravitational influence on the small ball as the 160 kilogram ball did. And the moon, which was moving, which is always moving, the moving moon would have had an influence on the little 1 kilogram ball that was about 168 times bigger than the 160 kilogram ball. So he was supposed to be accounting specifically for the influence of the big ball on the little one while isolating every other force in the universe. But the moon would have had 168 times more influence on the little ball from its distance away than the other big ball in the shed would have. Jupiter would have had an equal amount of influence, and all the other bodies that have been in the sky would have had a variable amount of influence too, all of which were the sum total of which were hundreds of times greater than that of the lead ball in the shed. So how could he have possibly measured the direct effect of gravity of the lead ball in the shed by itself on the small ball to have derived a universal constant from?
So just out of curiosity, you're saying that his study of gravity would have been affected by gravity.
If the paradigm was true, yes, because it's a universal law. All bodies with mass constantly act on all other bodies with mass based upon the masses involved and the square of the distance. It is a universal law of gravitation.
That is true. Now, here's the thing. It's like, no, I cannot verify how much pull would have been exerted by Jupiter, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, maybe you're right, maybe you're not. I don't know. I can't verify your statement to be accurate or not. to be totally honest. So I can't
Can we-
really
Well,
comment on that.
you could
However-
verify his information, but you
But
just haven't yet, and that's probably
No,
why
I
you
actually-
still
I-
believe.
but
That's probably why you
well,
still believe
hang on.
in
What
what you
I'm talking
believe.
about, I'm not saying it's impossible to verify that. I'm saying I can't do it right in the second right now because it has to do where was Jupiter in its orbit at the time of the experiment? What time was it done? How much force would Jupiter exert over that? How much? It's like that's the What I'm talking about though is the Cavendish experiment. Even if it completely failed, the amount of calculations and predictions that can be made are in and of themselves substantiating gravity.
But you think calculations substantiate gravity, bro?
Yes, because there's other observations, like how do things stick to Earth? Why is the moon at the position that it's in moving the way that it is? Why is the moon tidally locked? Why do we orbit the sun? Why do planets form?
Hold on,
in the
okay,
first
bro,
place
bro.
called
You're just shooting from the
accretion?
hip. Okay, hold on, bro. You're just shooting from the hip, and you didn't address Piezo's point, which I
No,
knew that
but
was going to
I
happen. Hold
did.
on,
I'm
bro.
just
Hold
saying,
on, hold on,
even
hold on,
if-
hold on. Don't make me mute you. Relax. You didn't acknowledge
I'm
Piezo's
relaxed,
point. He
man.
said,
I'm
"How?"
relaxed. I
Not
did
when you're
address the
talking.
point.
Not when you're talking through me. Right now, when you're talking through, you're not relaxed. Piezo
No,
asked you
I-
specifically about why they didn't account for the moon's effect on the Cavendish experiment. What was your reply?
How could I possibly answer that?
Well, I mean, that is a variable.
Would they
right?
have needed to is the question. How could it be accurate if they didn't account for all these other sources of force that would have necessarily affected the experiment? If they didn't account for it, then how can the experiment be valid? Especially if the effect of the forces was 168 times greater than that of the ones involved in the calculations.
So look, I'll say this: if you want to argue the validity of the Cavendish experiment, that's one thing. But my point was, when you accused me of dodging it, was even if the Cavendish experiment failed and did not work due to whatever variables, that goes no further to disproving everything we know about how gravity does work.
Okay. Hold right there. Let's touch on that. So let's say, because you're doing a form of argumentation, which is the way you're supposed to do. You're granting the claim and then evaluating the consequences. Okay, so the claim would be that the Cavendish experiment was not valid. The number could not be real because the experiment was faulty. So what would be the consequences of that? And you're saying we still make valid predictions with the sky, right?
Not with the sky, with known gravitational bodies, yes. In the sky, sure.
Which are in okay. Semantics. Yeah. Okay. So are you aware that the way that the model in the sky was built was using the number from G? And if we were to change the number of big G, the only thing that would change in the sky is the scaling factor. So, in other words, the ratios of how far apart everything is and the ratios of how far away everything is from us, they would all maintain the same proportionality with their ratios to us. You would just have a different factor out in front that you'd multiply them by. So if, let's say big G as it is right now is 1, if we made big G 10 times greater than it is right now, then we would multiply all those numbers by 10, but they would still maintain the same ratios between them because everything is actually based off of Kepler's laws, which are actually based on kinematic observations of periodicity, how long it takes the lights in the sky to come back around to their starting point. Mass was interjected into that situation artificially, and what you will find is that when you do a unit analysis of Kepler's laws, using the standard form and then using the Newtonian form in which mass was interjected, the masses, the m's, actually cancel out in the final form of the formula, meaning that the mass has no bearing on the result. You could make the mass whatever you wanted it to be, and it wouldn't change anything for Kepler's orbits. So the point being that G is irrelevant to calculating any periodicities in the sky. The only thing they need G for is to build a model of these distances that are unfathomably large, these masses that are unfathomably big, that you can never independently verify. You just have to trust them. But The problem is when they first did this, it was the 1700s, right? All they were trying to explain in the 1700s were the things that were known about in the solar system, which they already had Kepler's laws for. They just wanted to ascribe a distance to it. Now we know about galaxies and the distant, universe and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, little did they know back then when they set this value for G and were stuck with it forevermore, that later down the road it would completely blow their model apart. That's why as soon as we got outside of the solar system, as soon as we got outside of, our sun and the planets and started looking at everything that's further away than that, all the predictions broke down and they still don't work. That's why we have 97% of our universal model being made up of mathematical error. We have to come up with factors to account for the error, and those error correction factors we have labeled dark matter and dark energy, because the mass that the mass that we used in our equations to build everything did not end up balancing out in the end, because once we get super far away, things would have to be moving faster than the speed of light, and they'd have to have so much mass to not fly apart that it's like it's an absurd amount of times larger than what we can actually see. So they actually say that 96-97% of the entire universe is made up of some undetectable exotic form of matter and energy that we've never been able to see, measure, detect, or predict. I guess the prediction would be the fact that the numbers are off, but either way.
Yeah, but I mean, like nothing you said, I would say is particularly wrong. But I also don't feel that is conclusive proof that something that we know to be true is not true.
Okay.
So what I'll say is for example, it's Newtonian physics describe the motion of the solar system perfectly.
No, they don't.
Einsteinian explains the motion of the galaxies. So maybe there's some next level that will explain the motion of how the galaxies interact in and amongst themselves. I mean,
why doesn't Newton
the
work out in the
math all
galaxy?
of a sudden does not work either, because we can use the math to make predictions. That's the important thing here, and I want to really stress
No, you can't.
That's
Can I
not
take you
true.
back twice? I need to take you back to two things that we went past a little quickly, and I don't think you realize what was asserted. First one was Piso was starting you off with G and relating that to F equals MA. And he suggested that everything falls at 9.8 meters per second, regardless of its mass, right?
if he was asserting that.
No, I mean, you
possibly.
can.
I'm not going to
You
confirm
can,
that.
because that's what you've been taught. You've been taught
No, I
everything.
can confirm that with the mass of Earth. Yes.
Everything here where we're standing falls at
Everything
9.8.
on Earth. Yes, correct.
Regardless
in a
of its
vacuum.
mass.
Correct.
No, none of that crap. Just leave
No, in
terminal
a
velocity
vacuum
out
is
of it.
important.
Leave every other secondary analysis out of it. I'm
That's
talking
not
about
a secondary
single
analysis.
premise.
In a vacuum
It
is
is.
a primary analysis.
Okay, it is beyond the accelerational force. You're talking about the medium through which it is accelerating. It is secondary. Now let's get back to the
No, it's
primary
not, because
one.
9.8 meters per
Can you
second
hold a
doesn't
thought?
work
Can you hold
outside
a
of a
single
vacuum.
thought? Hold the single thought, and I got you agree on this, and then you moved away from it, that everything falls at 9.8, right?
In a vacuum, yes.
Okay, until it, all right, everything
Have
in
you
a
never
vacuum
seen the
falls at
experiment
9.8.
of a feather
Hey,
and
Steam,
a hammer
just follow me here.
excluding wind resistance? Because atmosphere
I actually
exists.
put it in one of my music videos. Yes,
No,
of
no,
course,
hang
I'm
on, man.
familiar with it.
Honestly, hang on a second. Atmosphere exists.
man.
Atmosphere
Hey,
expects
Steamboat,
that.
you keep doing the thing where you're talking over the guy that's talking to you. It's very impolite. It makes it unpleasant to listen to. Please resist.
You're
Right?
changing the subject and all kinds of stuff. Just follow me here, that
I'm
everything
not
falls at
changing the subject.
9.8, regardless of mass, right? You could have
In
a
a
2
vacuum,
kilo
yeah.
object, you could have a 2 kilo object and a 35 kilo object, and they both fall at 9.8. You got them both in the vacuum just to satisfy your condition.
Thank you,
and
because
you're
that is
agreeing.
very important.
I'm only talking about the first couple seconds of the analysis anyways. It's all that's relevant here. I'm just saying everything falls at 9.8. Are you agreeing? Everything
Yeah, if
regardless
we're
of its
referring
mass.
to on Earth in a vacuum, yes, then I would agree with that.
Regardless of its mass. So when you look at F equals MA, we got the same F applied to two different M's, and somehow we're getting the same A. Can you see the mathematical incongruity there?
No, because you're applying the calculation to the object and not to the gravitational body.
No, the F is the gravity. That is the force acting on everything, which produces a 9.8
Exactly,
in
and that
everything,
force
regardless of mass.
applies to everything equally. You can't just
Right.
say, hey, this smaller object
Hey,
should
Steam.
suddenly like
Steam.
exhibit less of the
Steam.
force of the
Are you
bigger
drunk?
object. That doesn't even make sense.
Steam, are you drunk right now?
No, of course not. I'm
Okay,
always
good. Now follow what I'm saying again, because you're completely missing this very simple
You think
arithmetic
I am?
truth. You're clearly missing it, but I can tell by how you're responding. Back it up again. Here we are. We're
Okay,
looking at
go again. Go
every
again.
object. Every object falls at the same rate, 9.8, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of its mass. Regardless of
Correct.
its mass. Okay, you got a 2-key object and a 35-key object, and they're both, when you let them go, they fall at 9.8, right? Okay. Now
Yes.
let's boogie on over to F, which is gravity causing things to fall, acting on the mass, producing acceleration. Okay, F equals ma. Great. But you see, we got the F is the same in both situations, the 2-key mass, the 35-key mass. The F is the same, all right? We just agreed that's 9.8. Actually, it's gravity.
I mean,
It produces the A that is 9.8, is what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
like
say.
the F
Gravity
produces
is
the
the
9.8.
force.
Yes.
Okay, gravity is the force producing the 9.8. But you see, the M is changing by a factor of 17, and you've still got the same F and the same A.
Yeah, of course, because
How's
you
that
have
happening?
you have the same F. It's the force that matters.
That's what I'm saying. You're saying that you got the same F, but you know, you're producing the same A. So the F is the same, the A is the same, but the mass is changing. How can the formula be valid?
Because the force is not generated by the smaller mass.
That's not relevant. We're looking at F
Is that
and
not
M
exactly
and
what
A
you're
and
saying? You're
things that
saying that
fall.
a
You
smaller
drop them.
object should be affected differently than a larger. Is that not exactly what you're saying? Or am I
No,
misinterpreting you?
you're saying gravity affects all things in the same way and causes them all to fall the same rate. Gravity acts the
In a
same
vacuum,
on
yeah.
all of these objects, right?
In a vacuum, yeah.
I'm saying, hey, look at these two objects falling at the same rate. There's got to be something more to the formula. Somehow
like, that's what I mean. Like,
you're
are
not,
you saying
you're failing math here and not being able to see this arithmetic obvious.
No, I'm trying to. Trust me, dude. I'm trying to see exactly what you're saying.
Okay,
so I
so
just have an honest question. It's an honest
great.
question. I'm not coming from a place of
Good.
malice here.
So
Are
then
you
spend some time
saying?
on your own and chew on that.
No, but hang on. Can I
hear.
ask you a follow up?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that an item that is of lower mass should fall at a different rate than an object that is heavier? Like, for example, if I had a 1 pound steel cube, it should fall at a different rate than a 5 pound steel cube. Is that what you're saying, or am I misinterpreting your point?
You see, the thing that they use to produce the 9.8 is just Earth. They don't use the mass of the object falling to compute that A.
Yeah, because that's the force.
Right? Right. I'm just saying that there's an arithmetic demon here that you're not seeing / appreciating. That I think you
I
want to take
want
some
to
time
see
to
what
think
you're
about.
talking about. That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay. So let's leave all that to the side. I want to take you even farther back to when you came in the room and you said, I've been listening for half an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it is.
Why leave that to the side, man? I was trying to parse out exactly your point.
You obviously need to chew on that one mentally for a little more time before you can grasp exactly what the
I don't know, man.
implications
I
are
asked
that
a
I'm trying to
pretty
make here.
simple question on that, and you couldn't answer that. Like based
Hey,
on what
neither
you're
could you.
saying.
We asked you a simple question too. You couldn't answer it either, bro.
See, that's why I'm telling you to go chew on it, because we're just not going to get anywhere with this right here. And I wanted to take you farther back. Okay, this is point number 2. You said you've been listening to this for half an hour, 90 minutes, or whatever it was, a really long time, and you had so many things where you were just dying to jump in there. And the first one I started you with was Newton. And you kept saying and kept asserting that all the solar system math, gravity, you know, it just works out. It's right. It's this. It's a, no. The point is that if you were listening before you came in to what I was saying about the video I produced called the Gravity Kill Shot, where I took F equals G M over R squared and applied it to the quote sun and Earth and the moon, using the values that you find on NASA's website. Planetary Fact Sheet is the name of the page if you're interested. And we plug those in right into the formula. And what we find out that, you know, like you would expect in your formula, there's a force between the Earth and the moon. And that is supposed to be the gravity that's holding the moon in orbit around the Earth, right? You got that part?
A force between the Earth and the moon.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
you mean
supposed to be a
connecting the two?
centripetal.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's supposed to be a centripetal gravitational force there, right? You know,
centripetal? No.
Okay, yes, centripetal. There's an attractive force inward. Centrifugal is outward. That's the rotational momentum of the moon, right? Okay, that's your model. You should know that. That's the centripetal force. It's gravitational. Okay, there's one force we're talking about there between Earth and the moon. Okay, great. And you know that there's also another one they love to talk about, and that's the one between the sun and the Earth. And that's how we have this alleged solar orbit around the sun going on, right? You're cool with that one, I'm sure. That's why we're doing 30 kilometers per second around the sun. You know what I mean?
Continue.
There's a gravitational force between the sun and the Earth, supposedly, causing our orbit. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay, so now you cannot deny that there is also a third force involved, and that's between the sun and the moon, right? There are two objects flying around. Okay, great. Now, but you see, when we look at the orbital path of the moon around the Earth, it's almost circular. In fact, it's 11% out of.
I did hear this argument earlier. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So then you agree that this is the data we adhere to with the solar system model the globies have, that's the path of the moon around the Earth. It's supposedly 11% out of perfectly circular. This is what we observe. Okay, great. Well, did you know that when you plug the numbers into the formula for the third value, the force between the sun and the moon, that number is a little more than 2.2 times the number between the Earth and the moon? That the sun is pulling on the moon, allegedly, more than twice what the Earth is. But somehow, the moon's path around the Earth is only 11% out of perfectly circular. How do you reconcile those with Newtonian physics?
Yeah, so for one, just, just
go
for the sake of argument, for one, I cannot confirm nor deny the validity of the math that you have done.
It's all in my video.
However, assuming all your math was right, based on the argument you just gave me, you are forgetting a very crucial aspect here, because you're looking at the gravitational force that the sun has on the moon, and then you're looking at the gravitational force that the Earth has on the moon. Now, what about the gravitational force that the moon has on the Earth? That's a whole other factor that I don't think you included because you didn't mention it.
No, that is combined because there's also one that the moon has on the sun. Those two are going to be canceling each other out in a logical sense. So don't bring that up. That's not helping you at all.
No, but it's not combined. It's two different numbers.
It is mathematical convolution, and in terms of orders of magnitude here, insignificant.
Yeah, but mass in a vacuum attracts mass, meaning there's an equal force
it
on
doesn't
both
matter
bodies.
if there's a vacuum. Okay,
No,
mass
but
attracts mass, period, according to your model.
The force is exhibited by both bodies, not just one. Just because the Earth is larger, it doesn't mean that the moon itself's gravity is not also tying it to Earth. It's not just Earth's gravity. It's also the moon's gravity that is pulling the Earth into it. It's just that the Earth is a lot bigger.
Yes. Okay, great, Steam. You can express it that way if you like, but the
Well, yeah,
mathematical truth is the same. There is, if you like, there's a
maybe, yeah.
force.
If your math is correct,
Hold
sure,
on,
but
Steam.
I'm
My
dubious
God,
of that
Steam,
notion. I'm very
Steam.
Hey, Steam. Not sure if you noticed, you're not on the phone, bro. You're in a Twitter X space. People want to listen. I think that you have the ability to control your outbursts while somebody else is talking, as well as everybody else, right? But in particular you, because you've done it multiple times. Please, bro, just try not to overtalk because it makes you look weak if you have to censor in order to get your point across. All right, go ahead, Stone, and then I'll let you pass the mic to Steam. I'll let you get like another, 45 seconds to a minute, and then I want to get through the rest of the hands because these guys are being really patient.
Many thanks. As I was saying, we can do the mathematics your way if you like. Yes, there is a force of the Earth attracting the moon and the moon attracting the Earth. That produces a single centripetal force between them. Okay? And the same thing goes on between the Earth and the Sun and the Earth. And there's a net centripetal force, one value between those two bodies, according to Newton. And then the same thing again between the sun and the moon and the moon and the sun. And it's going to produce one centripetal force between the two. I'm saying that that one is 2.2 times the first one. And you have yet to address that other than the use of mathematical convolution. Try again.
Now you can talk, Steve. Boy, he got to be drinking. He's talking to a muted phone. This is crazy.
Yeah, I like that he's thinking about it, though. That's a good start.
Hey, Steve, you got like 5 seconds, bro. Or are we just going to take that as a concession?
Yeah, we can't hear you, Steam. Check your mute.
5.
Yeah. I'm here.
There he is. What's up?
Okay, so yeah, a bunch of things. One, assuming that your math is correct, which is honestly a pretty big assumption because I don't think you're a physicist or a mathematician. So sorry, I gotta have to take your word on a
Way
lot
to
of that.
ad hom your way into the situation.
No, but it's
Continue.
not. But is that not true? Are you a physicist?
Appeal to credential, that doesn't matter, bro. You should stop using fallacious
It's not
arguments.
appeal to credential. It's
It is.
appeal
It's
to
appeal. You don't need
expertise.
to be a physicist to know math, bro. That is literally fallacious. It's devoid of logic,
No,
reasoning. Please address his point without obfuscating.
So here's the thing, it's an appeal to expertise, and the reason that I make it is because in his original point he didn't even mention the other force, which is what the moon has on the Earth, which says to me that whatever math he thinks he did is potentially very incorrect. So how can I then logically argue against a point that I feel is dubious at best?
Okay, this is again another point where I'm going to ask you, are you drunk? Because I definitely, directly, mathematically addressed your convolution and said, okay, there's a force where the moon attracts the Earth and the Earth attracts the moon. That produces a singular centripetal force between them. It sums out to whatever it is, and it is whatever it is, and we give it a single variable x in this equation. And then there's another one between the sun and the Earth and the sun, and that produces y. And then there's a third one between the sun and the moon and the moon and the sun.
Yeah.
They both attract each
you
other.
got all that.
Produces steam. You're not following. Steam, that produces the variable z in my country. And z, or z, happens to be 2.2 times x. Yet the orbital path shape of the moon around the Earth is only 11% out of perfectly circular. How do you rectify that?
Well, again, you're asking me to, one, assume that your math is correct, which I will assert is dubious at best.
Just go watch my video and go check the NASA page and verify it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's entirely likely that it isn't. Like, I'm not trying to strawman you. I'm not just gonna like sidestep that and say your math is wrong, therefore you're wrong.
Incredulity.
Put it this way, Steve.
No, I said I'm not gonna do that.
Steve, put it this way. That video has been up on BitChute and viewed by hundreds of people, and nobody has questioned the figures.
I'm not surprised by that because your audience is mostly flat earthers. They don't question much.
Steamboat.
Yeah.
Oh my
again,
God,
that's
yo,
sad.
Steam, bro.
That's
Yo,
sad,
this whole
Steve.
time, hold on, bro, hold on. This entire time, all you have been doing is say, I don't understand. I'm ignorant. That must mean you're wrong. Oh, the reason why nobody has refuted you is gotta be because your audience is flat earthers. Boy, you're in here too. You not no flat earther. Every single argument that you have made has been obfuscation on top of deflection, on top of appeal to incredulity, but you don't, and you came in here talking tough, like you was about to do something. And every single time we ask you to address something specifically, all you have been telling everybody is, I'm too ignorant to address it. Boy, this is, you know where we at? You know how many platforms we live on right now? Why will you come in here talking tough and then not be able to address any claim whatsoever, bro? We're literally trying to give you a chance. If you don't know how to do it, then just say, hey, bro, let me look into it and I'll double back on y'all next week because I know where y'all at. You don't got to gaslight him because you feel inept in order to answer his questions directly, bro. Think about that. Think about what you're doing. Okay? I'm going to give you a chance to respond, and then I'm going to move on to the other squad. I think we lost the speaker trying to give you a chance to address Piezo, Stone, me. You ain't addressed none of us. It's just pure ignorance, bro. So go ahead, man. I'm going to give you a chance. You can come off mute. Please address it specifically if you can. That's perfectly fine. It's okay. Do your research and come back.
Man, first of all, it's absolutely incredible because you're accusing me of doing the exact things that you're doing. You're asking me to address a point. You're asking me to address a specific point based off of what is, in all probability, incomplete math. Honestly, just think about that. It really is.
His whole point is that your path is
I'm
incomplete,
not
bro.
a physicist. That's not where I'm at. But the thing is, even if that's true, even if he's 100% accurate about his mathematical assertions about gravitational bodies and how the moon would be pulled into the sun or something like that, the fact of the matter remains that flat Earth has no claims or models. The only thing you can do.
Bro, stop it, Steve. We are not talking about flat Earth. Again, another deflection. He is saying, yo, let's assume your paradigm is correct. Here's the figures. Address why it's not consistent. Now you want to start talking about flat Earth? Boy, you are crashing out. Why would you come in somebody else's court and start putting up air balls, bro? You ain't warm up. Stretch, bro. Come on now. You see Stone dribbling, doing the crossovers, throwing it off the backboard. You gotta do something, bro. It's like a 7-0 run so far. Please, man, you got the ball. Go ahead, score.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, give me a day and I can come up with some bullshit math to tell you too. That proves my point. I cannot verify.
I'll give you a week.
That math.
I'll give you a week.
Hell yeah.
I'll give you a week. We'll be here next week, 111.
Yeah,
and you better pull up too. You better pull up too, gang.
Steamboat, would you like me to put the math up for
wrong
you?
because you know what? People aren't fucking stupid.
Oh my goodness. You see how these globe earthers act, bro?
Yeah.
Stone came with calm, civil math, and
Here's
now
the
he
thing.
want to talk about flat earth and
Right.
people are stupid.
No,
this
let
is what
me-
happens every single time, bro.
Hang
This
on,
is why
Sigurd, let
I
me
don't know
say
why
what-
they
no,
do
Let me
this.
say what I mean. Sigurd, let me say what I mean.
Bro,
for a
you got
second.
30
Let me
seconds
say
and we're
what I
gonna get
mean.
to listen. You got 30 seconds because we give you so much time and you have zero answers. Everybody gonna go replay this back and just continue to laugh out loud. Like they probably spamming laughing emojis right now. We'll give you 30 seconds to deflect some more. And then we're gonna get the Jazz, we're gonna get the Ken, and then back to my man KC. I'm gonna check on Flat Lads and see if he's still here. If not, I'm gonna rotate some more people up here. Alan, check your demon if you can. All right, go ahead, Steam. Get the obfuscate, please. Go ahead.
Sacred, real quick, before you move on from him, I'm going to let you know, Steam, right now, while you're talking, you made an accusation against Stone. I'm a Microsoft Paint engineer, so I'm going to open up my Microsoft Paint and engineer you a graphic, and I'm going to put the numbers and the math in so you can see the forces. So we'll have the force of the sun on the moon and the force of the earth on the moon when the moon is right between them, and we'll see which force is bigger, and you tell me why the earth wins, even though the
Just bug over to BitChute and watch the gravity kill shot. It's
Yeah.
right there. Don't waste your time, man. It's all
So
laid out.
did you post it in Purple Pill Stone?
No, I didn't, but it's right in my bio. My BitChute tag is there, and you can just scroll down of my videos. There's only 60 of them. It's easy to find.
What's the name of it? Because I'm gonna post it for you.
It's the gravity kill shot. I think it's a couple of thoughts about the moon, and the gravity kill shot is the second half of that.
Giving them a homework is assuming that
I
he wants to
I
learn.
give them homework, Shane, and they never come back doing it.
It's
You
because they
remember
don't
Clay
want to
Jackson?
learn.
Oh my God.
Yes, I do.
Oh my God.
Please don't say his name too many times, and he might pop up again and not have no answers. So please don't say his name no more. Please don't.
My friends, Alan and Stone, have this this sentiment, this idea that people on Glober's side are still genuine in some way, aspect, shape, or form. Like my buddy Alan, for this past debate, studied hard. Like we had to go to an entrance exam, and like his food was gonna depend on it. Like if he didn't pass this debate, there was gonna be no more Little Caesars. You know what I mean? So like, and I was like, bro, why do you assume that these two guys are going to be the only people who come forth with genuine logic and reason and research and put together all their points? And every time we act like it's going to be this time, and it never is. So
Dude.
I gave up, but hey.
The Little Caesars was in jeopardy, bro. I had to secure it.
Go ahead, team. Final thoughts, bro. Final thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna tag you. Got some homework to do since you ain't have no answers. Go ahead, though.
Well, of course. I mean, this whole thing is kind of ridiculous. You say I have no answers, but
I agree, bro. I agree.
But I
You
can't
don't.
in real time refute math that may or may not be true. That's not necessarily an
Take a
argument.
week. You got a whole week, buddy. What are you going to do with 7
Hey, no,
hard
I'll
days
look
to
it
worry
up and
about
come
this?
back
You ain't gonna have that argument next week, Steam.
But,
You
okay,
better be careful.
all right.
You ain't gonna have that argument next week.
No. I can
Hey,
tell you
did
what's
you
going to
guys not
happen.
just dog me for interrupting? But that's
No.
okay. You can mute me. You can interrupt me all you want.
Hold on. He right. Go ahead. Let's let Steam finish. I said he could get his last deflection off. Go ahead, Steam. My bad.
You'll have to unmute again, Steam.
I see him unmuted. Go ahead, Steam. Nobody interrupt. Go ahead.
All right. My whole kind of point is, it's like, yes, I cannot refute the math in real time. I'm not going to try. That would just be disingenuous of me. And all I can do is say, hey, it might be dubious, because that's true, because that's how science works. It works by refutation and corroboration. It's like, you know what? I will look at that. And if I can corroborate that, then I will be on here next week going like, damn, homie was right. That's the kind of person that I am. So I'm not going to sit here and argue against math that I can't verify in real time. However, what I will say is it really honestly realistic that somehow this random dude on X flat Earth knows more physics than every mathematician ever? No, I don't think so. I think
That's okay. I get that a lot.
Yeah, it's like science doesn't, it's not dogma. It doesn't work like that. There's been so many fraudsters in the scientific sphere that get debunked all the time in real time by other mathematicians. All of the time this happens. People lose full careers trying to fabricate some nonsense that they think is real. That's how it honestly works.
Steam, that has nothing to do with the price of fish.
Dude, I was gonna say he made a great argument. You brought me back to the globe. So, difference of opinion, Stone.
Well, I guess difference of opinion, but I mean, like, honestly, in globe math, it's like, it's an absolutely insane ass, because at the end of the day, what you're saying is everything in terms of mathematics, geology, physicists, astronomy is just completely wrong, and everybody who studies those fields are wrong. So at the end of the day, sitting here going, what's more likely? Are all these people that do science for a living wrong, or are the people who narcissistically claim to know better wrong?
Narcissistic. He was saying math, bro. He asked you about math, a language, something that he was appealing to your own paradigm, and you couldn't address any of it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not a
on top of that,
mathematician, and neither is he.
you want to appeal to credentials and your own man Einstein, which you don't even appeal to, right? You sticking like to Newton and stuff like that, which is completely outdated. But your own man Einstein dropped out of school at 15. Well, you don't need no credential in order to do math. You just haven't put in the time and effort. Once you do, you're not going to have this excuse anymore. That's the only point. You could have said this 30 minutes ago. Hey, bro, I don't know. I'll come back.
Is unequivocally correct?
You could have just said
the
this.
question.
Hey, you could have said it. Yo,
correct?
I'm not done, bro. I'm not done. I'm just
Sacred,
saying.
is
Bro,
his math?
Yo, you don't have to yell. You really don't have to yell. Like, I have a mute button. All I'm saying is you could have said that 30 minutes ago instead of trying to make it seem like you knew what you was talking about and didn't. Right now, after 30 minutes of pressing you, now you say, well, I just don't really know. I got to look into it, bro. You wasted 30 minutes of everybody's time trying to make it seem like you was smart. Like, get your ego out of here, bro. Like, you should be
How can you be
truth.
so disingenuous? That's not how that happened at all.
That is how it happened. They asked you like 20 times in a row the same question. You didn't answer Pia's question. You didn't answer my question. You didn't answer Stone's question. You made it seem like you had to have a credential in order to do math. That was false. You made it seem like you had to do all this other, bro. Literally, you didn't answer nothing. So it's like, bro,
You're
like,
so
you gave me so much
dishonest.
time.
It's wild. It's wild, man.
What answer did you give us?
The answer that I gave you is I cannot corroborate unknown math. Easy.
No, you just now said that. You just now said that.
Correct?
You just now said that. What you first started
But
was,
no,
oh,
are you
Stone, the only
saying-
reason why nobody's refuted you because flat earthers follow you. Oh, Stone, I don't know if you're right because all the other mathematicians probably don't agree with you. That was what you said at first. And then after we pressed you about your fallacious reasoning, then you said, well, let me just go look into it and then I'll double back. I'm like, that's cool, bro. That's cool. But you didn't have to, you didn't listen. You still, bro, you still talking through me. You have to be able to have self-control.
You're talking nonsense.
Well, all right. Well, you're not gonna do it anymore, bro. You're not gonna do it anymore. Go get your last question off, and then I'm gonna rotate the mic.
All right. My last question is to you. Do you believe his math is unequivocally correct?
I do. The video is right there.
You believe it. You can't corroborate that. You don't know for sure. You believe it is.
Yeah. You asked me if I believe it. I'm answering.
Yeah, and you said yes. So
Listen to me. I do believe it because I know Stone. He has a track record of being correct. Now, is he always correct? Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But there's a reason why it's not refuted. So I could go and look into it just like you, and I would have started the whole conversation before you interrupt. I would have just said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be arguing against them. I'm going to do my research so that way I can argue intellectually instead of appealing to fallacious reasoning.
Dude, that's literally what I said.
Still interrupting, bro. Stain. Hey, nice to see you, bro. Nice to see you, bro. I tagged you in the tweet, and we're looking forward to see you next week, bro. You can't keep interrupting. This is not a good listening experience. I'm sorry you're frustrated with yourself and projecting on everybody else. But we can't just have you screaming into your device because you don't know how to do the math. Like it's okay, bro. Just go look into it. Stone, final thoughts, and we'll get to Jazz and then Ken.
Thank you very much. As a parting thought, Steam, what will you do with 7 whole days to check out the math? And I really hope you check out the math. Frankly, check all my videos. There's lots of math in them. You're going to have a really good time. But if you should surprise everybody and actually do that, what we just discussed, and come back in 7 days and tell us what you think based on what you learned from the videos themselves. I would be absolutely impressed. You would be the first Globie to do so. So I am going with statistic, and I'm making the prediction that he is going to do nothing of the sort publicly. He's not going to come back here in 5 days and say, yes, okay, I watched that video, I looked at the math, I understand the figures now.
Well, he might, Stone. He might. I want to give him a little bit of credit. He may come back. So I want to invite him back if he wants, if he really feels like he want to argue it. I have faith in him. I don't know about y'all. I got faith in him, bro.
My invitation is still just as earnest, regardless of my prediction. Like, hey, I hope he does his homework. That would just be awesome. And frankly, I ain't seeing it. I don't think we're going to see him. He may actually go and watch the video, understand it, but he won't be coming back
No.
if he does.
No.
And that's my prediction. And when
Well,
he talks
I
about,
tagged him.
he
I
talks
tagged
about
him in
how
it, so it's there.
no, he really sacred. He put the label disingenuous on you as well as insulting me. Okay, telling me I don't know nothing about math. I'm not a physicist. Blah blah blah. When he knows absolutely nothing about me. He only knows by what we've been talking about here, what anything he could possibly know about me. And that is my prediction. I'll land it right there.
Dude,
Yeah, man. And just real quick, but because I do want to get to Jasmine. Anybody who's down there and the listeners, like, you are free to come up here if you're able to have a civil conversation. And just be honest, bro. Like, if you don't know something, it's not supposed to be embarrassing. Like, it's okay. Like, you could cut down a lot of back and forth BS if you're just honest with yourself. It's really okay. So anybody, you're welcome to come up. We're just not going to do the interruption. I'm okay with interjections, right? I'm okay with back and forth. But when a speaker requests to not be interrupted, you need to appeal to you have a hot mic. When someone requests, like I said, I'm open to back and forths. I'm open to interjections. But when a speaker has the mic and they say, I do not want to be interrupted, you have to appeal to that, because we're going to do the same thing for you. All right?
And we got 94 anonymous listeners right now. There's an audience, right?
When they leave here, dude, they don't do homework. What they do is they Google why the homework you gave them is wrong. And when that path doesn't yield results in 5 minutes, they go away completely. I'm pretty sure that's the actual path.
I think you hit it right on.
I think I just worked that out in my head. I'm like, oh, you know what must happen?
Funny as hell. All right, let's go to Jasmine, and then we're going to go to Ken and then KC, and I'm going to rotate some mics. Alan, send me who's requesting. I can't really see right now.
Yeah, I sent you the updated figures.
Appreciate that. Go ahead, Jasmine. Appreciate you being patient.
Yeah, I think they come back and listen to the space in anonymous mode after y'all whip them.
Pretty much.
I was wanting to comment on what Casey was saying earlier, because I think another reason that I try to stay away and I come back every time is because I feel like people that were in the industry, like in aerospace and NASA and like these industries, like we get gaslit. So like if you think the general public is gaslit, like it's a whole nother like thing when you're in the culture and you just get this, like you are definitely not allowed to challenge the paradigm, and like, or else you're like immediately, ejected, and so it's like it's like brainwashing essentially. And so coming out of that, even God, how long have I been out? I've been out 8 years now. And I'll still have these moments where I'm just randomly like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what was this about? Like literally today I'm sitting here and I was in this, the company that I worked for was like a new space startup company. So they're like commercial space, right? Not, but we got government contracts. They all get government contracts. And you don't operate in the industry unless you get government contracts, right? So you have to play the game. And I was thinking about this other startup that was going along at the time that we were, and they wanted to do like space elevators. And I was remembering like at the time, like wondering how does that even work, and then not investing any more brain power into it. And then I'm thinking about that today. And I'm like, they wanted to attach to the firmament. There's no way you can put an elevator, a space elevator that high up into the atmosphere and have it not be like attached to something. And then I was like, okay, so what else what else do I need to think about here? And he was talking about there not being any like satellite codes. And I'm like, okay. Because the company that I worked for, they were building these like small micro satellites, small satellites, and part of the business model was on the way to like mining asteroids, right, was refueling for satellites. And apparently nobody had taken advantage of this industry, and there was some kind of market for refueling satellites. And I'm like, how do you even do that? Like, what does that mean? And they're like, oh yeah, they deorbit, right? And instead of, finding a way to refuel them, they just build a new satellite and send it up. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Satellites are like $300-400 million, right? It takes, years and years and years supposedly to build these things, and they're just recycling them. They're just like, oh, that's another 300 million. That's another 400 million. And they didn't invest in an industry to refuel them and make sure they stay in orbit. Like, what? The math ain't mathin', you know what I mean? And so that's what really started making me look at satellites. And I'm like, are they even satellites though? Like, are they? And if you look into like low, so there's like different kinds of satellites with different kinds of orbit, right? If you look into like the low Earth satellites, and you compare them with high altitude platforms, they're basically the same thing. Like, they act the same exact kind of way. And I'm just like, that's the reason they're not worried about refueling. Because when they do have to spend the money to quote unquote replace these satellites, they're actually just replacing these low Earth orbit, high altitude platforms that are planes, essentially. If go look at it, like Airbus has them, Northrop Grumman has them, right? And if you're paying attention to the sky and you're out on a sunny day and it's kind of cloudy, you can stare really high up in the atmosphere, you might catch a glimpse of these things, especially in your like remote areas of Montana and stuff. You look high up in the atmosphere and you see these things and you're like, what in the world actually is that? And that's these high altitude platforms. And and that's what I think that they're using for these like fake videos and stuff. Because when I was working there, they would get up to synthesize like what it would be like to be on a space station and what zero gravity feels like, and they would put them up in these high altitude planes, right? That would take off and land at like a normal, airport or whatever. But on the higher, $400 million scale, right? That these things stay up there for months. Right? Like, and yes, they do have to eventually come back down. So I'm just sitting here like that's why I'm questioning everything. Question absolutely everything that they say is how things work. And then I'm also, like I said earlier, I'm looking at the ether, and the energy that's actually in the air, especially at